The story begins with a girl lying in bed, fearing the morning. She wishes to stay in her dreams all day, as the truth is too harsh to face. We learn that the girl's name is Asahina Wakaba. At dawn, she feels a wave of sadness, heads to the bathroom to freshen up, and starts washing her face. Glancing at her reflection in the mirror, she places her hand on the glass and mutters how dreadful she looks, convinced she can't face her family with such an appearance. The scene shifts to her family at home. Asahina, now in her uniform, greets them cheerfully with a bright good morning. Her father, lowering his newspaper, replies warmly, noticing how happy she seems. Her mother chimes in, remarking that anyone would be cheerful after such a long sleep and suggesting she should wake up early more often. A young child also chimes in, offering Asahina a cheerful morning. The younger twin, Asahina Futaba, brims with excitement, bouncing as she exclaims how sunny the day is. She is overjoyed to see the sun shining, its rays streaming through the window. Wakaba, sharing her sister's enthusiasm, responds cheerfully, agreeing that it's a refreshing change after last week's constant rain. Their father, however, grimaces and remarks that he dislikes rain, it gives him the creeps. Futaba bursts out laughing at her father's exaggerated expression, only to be scolded by their mother to finish breakfast quickly or risk being late for school. Wakaba agrees, saying she can't tolerate being late. Curious, Wakaba asks her father what he bought yesterday. Excitedly, he reveals it's something he has been waiting for. Wakaba teases that he must have bought a Mandem model, calling him old. Offended, he corrects her it's Bandem, not Mandem, and reminds her he's explained this countless times. Futaba jokes the two words sound alike, but their father dismisses it, lamenting how people don't understand the brilliance of male reverie. Wakaba praises the model, cheering him up instantly. He promises to gift her a secret red jacket next time. Wakaba, smiling warmly, says she could never refuse such a gift. But the clock catches their attention. They're running late. Hurriedly slipping on their shoes, they set off for school, their joy lighting up their faces. At the station, Futaba waves goodbye, her smile radiant as she expresses how much she treasures walking together. Yet as Wakaba continues alone, a heavy unease settles in. Her fleeting happiness fades, knowing the moments ahead will be far from kind. Later, she sits quietly on a chair, her gaze heavy with melancholy. Wakaba overhears a conversation between her classmates, one asking if the other saw his message from the night before. The second classmate apologizes, saying she fell asleep, and jokingly adds that she might take him to karaoke as punishment. As their conversation shifts, they notice Wakaba and begin teasing her, mocking her for acting like a diligent student. They say her only friends are her books. Just then, Nanase Kumi, one of the classmates, steps in, expressing frustration over how cruelly Wakaba is treated, yet remains unaffected, admitting that she won't be able to tolerate. Shaojiria smiles faintly and remarks that Nanase is one of a kind, unlike Asahina. Shaoji asks Torimaki for his opinion, and she agrees, saying she's doing them a favor. He remarks that Wakaba is such an immoral girl, finding happiness in her own misery. With her head down, Wakaba reflects on everything, wondering why it turned out this way. Her only mistake was wanting to live a normal school life. Talking to people had always been a struggle for her, making it difficult to make friends. She had hoped everything would fall into place once she entered high school, but nothing went as planned. She blames herself for everything, feeling nothing but accusations and rejection for the past 6 months. Hiding her inner wounds, Wakaba muses that she once thought school life was supposed to be fun, but she was wrong. She never wanted any of this. Suddenly, Nanase slams her hand on the table, her voice sharp and commanding as she demands Asahina to stop ignoring her. Asahina meets her gaze, her tone cold as she replies, "Why?" Nanase, overwhelmed with frustration, shouts at Wakaba, asking if she can't do anything about her constant behavior. Rather than defending herself, Wakaba quietly apologizes. Nanase, seeing her as distant and pessimistic, grabs her hair and with a sharp tone warns her not to act superior just because of her appearance, pulling her hair as she speaks. As the bell rings for the break, the teacher leaves and Wakaba quietly slips out of the classroom with her lunchbox, searching for a secluded spot. When she finds one, she sits down, only to find her food cold. With a sigh, she thinks it's better than being spoiled. But her eyes light up when she notices a beautifully presented meal, bringing a rare sense of comfort. In these moments, she feels closest to her family, even though deep down she wishes she didn't have to come to school. If she shared this with her parents, she knew it would only cause them worry, and she couldn't bear to see them distressed. With a quiet resolve, she reassures herself that she only needs to endure one more year, knowing that soon her classes will change. While eating, Wakaba hears a loud, disturbing voice that startles her. It seems to echo from behind the bushes, where one guy angrily calls another a vile person, challenging him to repeat his words. The second boy responds, saying the first is incapable of seeing the true value of gouge, and mockingly begins to ridicule his name. A lad, Bezin Ryuichi, appears, angrily claiming the other is just putting on a facade and calling him a fool. The other retorts, saying he simply meant that girls look beautiful without glasses, but if Bizin takes them off, he looks terrifying. Enraged, Bizin starts a fight, leaving Wakaba confused about why they're even arguing. Amid the chaos, another man, Nakagawa Shun, arrives, urging them to stop fighting. He advises Ryuichi to stop overreacting and warns Haruto against starting fights without reason. Ryuichi is furious with Haruto for insulting him. Wakaba recognizes all three boys. She recognizes Nakagawa-kun, the class topper who consistently aces exams, even national ones. His status has risen so high that it seems he alone elevates the school's reputation. Bizin-kun, known for his impressive physical prowess, earned a starting spot on the soccer team. His wealth is evident, even having a personal maid. Both are quite famous at school. Just then, Bizin declares he will teach Haruto the true essence of eroge, and the chubby boy, holding his stomach, asks if Bizin is referring to Muscle Brain and calls him a spoiled brat. The chubby boy is revealed to be Iruma Haruto, who, with a broad smile, declares he'll prove his belly isn't just for show. Wakaba explains that Haruto is often called ugly, fat, and dirty. During the entrance ceremony, he got overly emotional about a lousy game and was dragged out. His unique appearance has earned him countless nicknames from others. Bizin tells Haruto that every game promotes health and questions the purpose of living such a shallow, foolish life. Haruto counters, saying every game is silly in its way, but also an absolute delight. Bizin realizes Haruto only ever spouts nonsense, living in a 2D fantasy world, indifferent to 3D reality. Though aware of how much people dislike him, Haruto remains unfazed, leaving Wakaba puzzled by his carefree attitude. Looking at her lunch, she reflects that since joining this school, she has never truly smiled from the heart. Haruto's carefree nature leaves her astonished. She quickly finishes her meal and leaves the spot quietly. Nanase is chatting with her friends, feeling bored and wondering why people find this dullness so peaceful. She's relieved that tests are approaching, hoping for something interesting to happen, like someone falling dramatically. Suddenly, she hears a scream. "Die, disgusting person." She's confused, unsure of what's going on. The sounds are from a fight between Bizin and Iruma. Bizin is trying to calm Haruto, who's furious, accusing Bizin of flirting with every girl. Nanase is puzzled, not understanding why they always end up arguing at the school gate every morning. Bizin, frustrated, tells Haruto to stop repeating the same nonsense. Bizin's maid arrives with a special bento, filled with his favorite garage. The mention of karage makes Bizin smile with delight. Haruto, witnessing this, grows jealous and becomes unable to control his emotions. He starts crying, exclaiming that it's an unfair society if someone doesn't get a bento made with love. He yells, saying the Japanese government should do something about it. Bizin explains that his maid is like family to him, a big sister or mother figure. When she pouts, he asks her why. Nakagawa reassures Haruto, telling him not to worry about Bizin, as he's just a bit crazy. Haruto, wiping his tears and pulling out comic books from his bag, says that his dream of a perfect 3D world will never be realized, and he will only marry a 2D girl, of which there are thousands. Shaoji, feeling frustrated, talks to her friends about the constant fights that start early every morning and how she can no longer tolerate them. She believes Haruto has become a burden to the school, and his arrogance has only increased since becoming friends with Bizin. Nanase begins to think about it, and Shoji asks what she's thinking. An idea forms in Nanase's mind. She decides to use Wakaba for her own advantage, aiming to kill two birds with one stone. Meanwhile, Wakaba sitting quietly in class when a sudden commotion outside catches her attention. Curious, she steps out and sees Nanase surrounded by a group of girls, all admiring a charming something in her hand. The piece is so mesmerizing that even Wakaba feels drawn to it but quickly steps back, telling herself she has no reason to stay. To her surprise, Nanase gestures for her to come closer and, in an unusually soft tone, promises to show the ornament to her specifically. Wakaba hesitates, doubting those words. Such kindness is unlike her. But as Nanase gently urges her again, Wakaba starts to wonder what has changed. She rushes to see the ornament in Nanase's hand. When it's shown to her, she admires it deeply and asks if it's a pocket mirror. Holding it carefully, she gets lost in its beauty, but suddenly she feels a jolt. The mirror slips from her hands, falls to the ground, and shatters. Nanase shrieks in disbelief, demanding to know what Wakaba has done. Wakaba panics and nervously insists it wasn't her fault. Someone pushed her from behind. Nanase begins fake crying, claiming the mirror was an expensive birthday gift, and sarcastically asks if Wakaba can even afford to pay for it. Embarrassed and guilty, Wakaba repeatedly apologizes. Seeing her so embarrassed, Nanase, considering her a poor and insignificant girl, says she knows Wakaba didn't break the mirror on purpose and will forgive her. Wakaba feels relieved and grateful, but then Nanase adds, on one condition. Wakaba, lowering her head in submission, says she's willing to do whatever Nanase asks. Nanase, trying to trick Wakaba, gives her a sly smile and suggests playing a punishment game. With an air of mischief, she tells Wakaba to confess her feelings to Iruma-kun and asks him to go out with her. She goes further, adding with a teasing grin that she should become Haruto's girlfriend. Wakaba is utterly shaken, unable to believe what she's hearing. Bowing her head, she falls into deep thought, overwhelmed by fear and uncertainty. Seeing her hesitation, Nanase asks mockingly if she knows who Iruma from Class 1 is. Wakaba, trembling, nods hesitantly in response. He's a fat, obnoxious loser, a chubby, clueless creep who's always ranting about disturbing things. Shoji from Nanase's friend group expresses her frustration with Haruto, calling his entire personality irritating and unbearable. She adds that they've decided to teach the chubby guy a lesson, and now it's time to play a game with him. Wakaba, confused, asks why she has to confess. Nanase smirks, saying she is just as clueless as she looks. She continues to describe Haruto as a gross, awkward nerd who has never had a girlfriend. Noticing Wakaba's puzzled expression, Nanase points out her beautiful face and asks if she knows what will happen once she shows her feelings. Smiling mischievously, she says that he'll follow her around like a monkey. Shoji outlines the plan that once they get close and their relationship deepens, Haruto will start to think highly of Wakaba. Then they'll reveal that it was all just a prank. When Haruto sticks around her like a cockroach, he'll finally understand his place. Shoji, excited, says that this will ensure they can live the rest of their school life in peace. They just want to teach him a lesson about his worth. Upon hearing this, Wakaba is shocked, as if refusing to go along with their plan. Nanase picks up the broken mirror and says that Wakaba is acting like she has a choice. She threatens to complain to her parents, showing the shattered mirror, reminding Wakaba that she had promised to do whatever Nanase said. They all laugh as Wakaba realizes it was all a setup, and they had been tricking her the entire time. Feeling foolish, Wakaba asks herself why she always takes so long to figure these things out. She doesn't want to be part of the scheme or lie to him. She wishes to have the freedom to choose who to be with and when to express her feelings. However, the situation forces her to stay close to the most disliked guy in school. If Wakaba refuses, they'll just bully her more, and she might end up having to pay more than 10,000 yen for the broken mirror. Nanase starts trying to make herself appealing to Haruto's potential girlfriends. Wakaba, lost in thought, sits quietly with her head down. Nanase mocks and reminds her that it's Class 4. Torimaki tells her that her sweet boyfriend has arrived. As he walks in, Haruto happily greets them, saluting, and proudly announces that he is here to serve them all, straight from Class 1. He asks everyone in Class 4 where he can find Asahina-san since he heard she wanted to talk to him. Just then, his gaze lands on her, and a voice interrupts, saying that they were supposed to be fighting by now. Talk about bad timing. Just then, Bizen enters Class 4, stating that today he will finish the fight once and for all. Haruto tells him to stop with the nonsense, mentioning that he could have waited in their class as well. Furious, Bizen responds that he never leaves things unfinished, and that today he will make a decision. Haruto laughs loudly, slapping his thigh, and remarks that Bizen never misses a chance to make him laugh. Bizen and Haruto start fighting, while Wakaba stands nearby, trembling. Nanase pulls Shoji forward, asking what Bizen is doing there. She mentions that some girls like Bizen, and that they need to make sure he doesn't find out about their plan before time. Shoji, who is scared of Bizen because she knows he's wild and won't listen to her, quickly pushes Wakaba forward. Shoji pulls Wakaba right up to Haruto, leaving him completely confused. He asks if she's really Wakaba Asahina and if she wants to talk to him. Wakaba answers with a yes, feeling nervous. Just then, Nanase steps forward and tells Haruto that Wakaba likes him a lot. Haruto seems uninterested, as if it doesn't matter to him, and thinks this act deserves a 4 out of 10. Nanase gets angry, insisting that she's telling the truth and asks Wakaba to confirm it. She lowers her head and quietly agrees. Haruto, in disbelief, drops to his knees and starts yelling like a madman, asking if this is really true. He can't believe that this is actually happening because he never expected anything like this in real life. It feels like a scene straight out of a crappy teen movie. Haruto's shock causes him to lose his breath, as though he's fainting. Wakaba tries to speak but can't say anything, her head lowered. Haruto, in complete disbelief, starts shouting again. Wakaba, standing there dryly, thinks that now she'll have to become his girlfriend and it's not too late to tell him it's all a prank. But just then, she remembers Nanase's threat, and she loses the courage to defend herself. She realizes there's no way out of this. She can't stop herself from trembling, nor can she run away. Reluctantly, Wakaba has to say the words that she likes him and pleads with him to go out with her. After saying all this, Wakaba feels a bit uncomfortable, while Haruto seems frozen in shock as if he's completely paralyzed by what he just heard. Bison waves his hand in front of Haruto's face, trying to figure out what's wrong with him. At this point, Bison starts advising Wakaba to forget about Haruto, explaining that he's a weirdo with no interest in real-life 3D girls and is only obsessed with his 2D waifus. Bison adds that even he is amazed by Haruto's crazy dedication and suggests Wakaba would be better off forgetting him forever. Just then, Haruto smacks Bison across the face and declares that he's absolutely willing to go. He dramatically begs in front of Asahina-san, pleading that if she really wants him, he'll definitely go out with her. Haruto joyfully celebrates spring's arrival, proud he never gave Wakaba false hope, and calls out to his father, declaring victory. Bison reminds him of his vow to the 2D goddess, but Haruto laughs it off, denying it. Frustrated, Bison punches him, but Haruto, unfazed, keeps searching for love in Wakaba's eyes. Haruto shyly asks if Wakaba will really stay with him, unsure of what she means. He then asks if they are each other's girlfriend and boyfriend. She responds with a quiet yes, filling Haruto's eyes with tears of happiness. Overwhelmed, he joyfully declares that if this is a dream, he wants to live in this dream forever. Haruto thanks her sincerely. Wakaba's eyes fill with tears as she wants to apologize, but then bows her head and congratulates him on the new relationship. Nanase claps happily, saying they both look great together. Wakaba, hiding her emotions, responds with a simple thank you. Haruto asks Nanase if she's Asahina's friend, to which Nanase quickly affirms and even nudges Wakaba to confirm. Wakaba acknowledges it, and Haruto apologizes for asking weird questions earlier. Just then, Bison calls Haruto, mentioning if their conversation is over, they should head back. Bison, frustrated, says her right leg has been restless all day and is telling her to do something to Haruto. Haruto tells Bison to go back to class as their classmates are waiting. Haruto tells Wakaba that his friends are waiting for him, so he has to leave. But then, shyly, he asks if she would like to walk home together after school, as he wants to introduce her to his friends. Wakaba pretends to be happy and agrees to go with him. As they bid each other farewell, Wakaba watches Haruto leave, and the moment he disappears from view, she sinks to her knees. Restlessness fills her heart, and a deep sense of unease takes over as if a storm of emotions is swirling within her. Nanase starts laughing and teasing Wakaba, joking about how she actually confessed to that chubby guy. All the classmates join in, mocking Wakaba for actually pulling it off and making the chubby guy cry tears of joy. Nanase continues teasing her, saying that Wakaba will be her girlfriend until the game is over. She also realizes that Haruto is an eternal bachelor and hints that maybe Toriumeki could help him out. Everyone bursts into loud laughter. Looking at Wakaba's situation, they comment that she looks like a depressed girl, and Haruto is a bulky, unattractive guy. They joke about how cute the couple seems. Wakaba realizes she told a huge, unforgettable lie that will only cause regret. After school, she meets Haruto's friends and notices Haruto's happiness after her confession. She can't help but worry about what will happen when he finds out it was all just a prank. Haruto introduces her to his friends, Nakagawa, his childhood friend, and Ruchi Bison, his crime partner since junior class. Nakagawa warmly welcomes Wakaba and encourages her to address him casually, while Bizun playfully assures her that he'll look after her. Wakaba responds politely, expressing her happiness to meet them. Upon hearing her first name, Haruto comments that it sounds as lovely as her appearance. Nakagawa is surprised, realizing Haruto didn't even know her first name until now. Bizun teases Haruto, saying he hadn't even noticed Wakaba until they met in class, but he doesn't mind. Nakagawa congratulates him, believing they'll grow closer over time. Bizun taps Nakagawa, wishing him good luck and acknowledging Haruto's success. Overcome with joy, Haruto thanks his friends with tears in his eyes. Bizun says the introduction is over and they should leave now. Nakagawa agrees, suggesting that the two should spend some alone time together. When Haruto asks, Bizun mentions he has soccer practice and Nakagawa has something to do. They both head off, while Haruto waves goodbye, saying they'll meet again tomorrow. His friends leave, saying that he looks really cute with Wakaba. Haruto shyly says that his friendship with them is very special, and it's great to talk openly about anything. Wakaba looks confused. Haruto then suggests that they should head home, and Wakaba agrees. Wakaba was walking quietly towards home when suddenly she spotted Nanase standing in front of the school building, staring at her. Memories of their earlier conversation flooded back, especially when Nanase had congratulated her on having a boyfriend and explained how they now had to stay together as a couple. It felt like a new responsibility for Wakaba. Seeing her anxiousness, Haruto asked if something was wrong, to which she replied with a simple nothing and continued walking in silence. On their way back home, Haruto seemed very nervous, constantly trying to keep the conversation going with Wakaba. He asked about her hobbies, TV shows, and her family, making an effort to keep the conversation flowing. However, Wakaba could only give short, odd answers. She started to feel that Haruto might be thinking of her as an awkward and boring girl. Haruto asks if Wakaba's house is nearby, to which she replies that it is just a little further down the road and that she will go home alone from there. Haruto agrees. With a hint of sadness, Wakaba reflects on the day, thinking that the task is done and it will soon come to an end, as according to Nanase, it is just another assignment. As Haruto prepares to say goodbye, he tells her that they will meet at school tomorrow. When she remains silent, he gently asks if something is wrong. After a brief pause, Wakaba hesitantly asks if he's free on Saturday. Haruto pauses, uncertainty in his eyes, before responding with a soft tone that he is not sure. Wakaba, gathering all her courage, takes a deep breath and asks him, her voice trembling slightly, if he would like to go on a date with her. The day of the date arrives. Wakaba, all dressed up, walks towards the meeting place with nervousness, thinking to herself that this is the first time in her life she's going on a date with a boy. She knows these are some of the most special moments in anyone's life. But for her, today is also a bittersweet reality, a day that will be remembered, though not in the way she expected. She checks the weather and finds out it will be cloudy, wishing for rain to cancel the date. A frightening thought flashes back to her mind when she was confessing to Haruto, unable to believe that she would actually go on a date with someone like him. She starts cursing her life and looks at the time, realizing that only 15 minutes are left before the date begins. At that moment, Haruto is seen standing nervously in the park, trembling as it's his first date. Soon, Wakaba arrives. In his nervousness, Haruto starts waving his hand repeatedly, signaling that he's there. Wakaba, trying to calm herself, encourages her own behavior to appear happy. As she reaches him, she forces a smile and asks if she made him wait too long. Haruto, still waving his hand, reassures her that it's not a big deal and mentions that they still have time. Shyly, he says that now they're finally going on the date. Wakaba, with a strange expression, replies that it's a good thing. They begin walking together, but Wakaba seems disinterested and irritated, even though Haruto keeps trying to engage her in conversation. She pretends to be happy, masking her discomfort. Haruto comments on how it's a bit ironic that the weather is cloudy on their date, but assures her they will still enjoy it. Wakaba, with a resigned expression, agrees. They proceed to enter a cinema hall, where it's crowded with a long line of people. While navigating through the rush, Haruto asks what kind of movie they should watch and wonders if she would prefer a romantic movie over horror or action. Wakaba suggests watching the latest trending movie. Noticing a poster on the wall, she points to White Lily's movie and asks how it would be. Haruto nods and says he'll go buy the tickets for it. Haruto reassures Wakaba not to worry, telling her he'll go get the tickets and will be back soon, so she shouldn't feel anxious. As he walks away, Wakaba stands there, stunned, reflecting on how, apart from her family, it's been a long time since anyone has been so kind to her. She begins to wonder when was the last time someone cared for her this much. Haruto and Wakaba sit together as the movie begins, but a trailer starts playing. Wakaba recalls Futaba, who used to complain about trailers, saying people come to watch the movie, not the previews. Wakaba chuckles, thinking how watching Futaba get so impatient always made her happy. Wakaba remarks that she's been lost in the movie for quite some time now and muses that if she doesn't focus on the person beside her, she might forget that she's actually on a date. It's been a while since she has been in the cinema, and decides to fully immerse herself in the experience, savoring the movie on her own. Gradually, Wakaba becomes more absorbed, watching the scenes with growing interest and a sense of contentment. As the moment unfolds, Haruto, sensing an opportunity, gently places his hand over Wakaba's. A wave of shock washes over her, and in a swift motion, she pulls her hand away with a soft, startled gasp. The surrounding crowd takes notice of the awkwardness, and Wakaba, flushed with embarrassment, quickly mumbles an apology. Haruto, equally flustered, insists it was his fault, confessing he had overstepped. His vulnerability, however, makes Wakaba wonder if this moment felt just as ordinary to him as it felt overwhelming to her. Wakaba, still holding Haruto's hand, nervously says that since they are now a couple, this kind of thing was bound to happen, apologizing for her reaction. Haruto, overwhelmed with panic, quickly covers his face, trembling as he repeatedly says that it is all his fault. Just then, the movie ends, and the crowd begins to exit the hall. They both step outside, and as they walk, Haruto suddenly stops, lowers his head in front of Wakaba, and, with genuine regret, says that he is so embarrassed by what he did. He apologizes again and asks her to forgive him. Haruto admits he has zero experience with romance and has never been on a date before, which made him act a bit impatient. Wakaba reassures him, saying there's no need to keep apologizing for such a small matter. With a smile, Haruto asks how he can make it up to her, suggesting they still have time before lunch and could go shopping. Wakaba agrees, and as Haruto looks around for a good shop, she notices one behind him. However, his attention shifts to an arcade, and he suggests spending some time there, heading toward the gaming zone and leaving Wakaba momentarily puzzled. Inside, the atmosphere buzzes with activity as people immerse themselves in various challenges. Haruto, captivated by the lively scene, notices several fresh additions to the lineup. Turning to Wakaba, he asks which games she'd like to try first. She hesitantly replies that she hasn't been to such places before, so she's not familiar with them. Smiling cheerfully, Haruto tells her that in that case, this inexperienced Haruto will guide her through the world of games today. Haruto withdraws money from the machine and exchanges it with coins. Seeing this, Wakaba tells him that she should pay for the games instead. Haruto, knowing that she had already paid for the food and drinks earlier, assures her that it balances out. He feels genuinely happy seeing Wakaba so thoughtful and considerate about him. While handling the coins, he asks Wakaba which game she would like to play first. He explains that the UFO catcher game is the easiest, but the machine is broken and costs more than it's worth. Then he asks if she enjoys TV quiz shows. When she nods and curiously asks why, he points to a game and suggests they try it. Wakaba hesitates, and Haruto, sensing her uncertainty, encourages her, saying it's a fun way to test her knowledge. He enthusiastically picks a category and presses the button to start the quiz. She gradually answers each question, her confidence building as she reaches the final round. Both she and Haruto gaze intently at the screen, the tension palpable. Haruto, with a mix of excitement and pride, admits that this is the first time he's ever made it to the final round of a quiz game, urging Wakaba to push through and win. Wakaba, remembering her childhood days of playing games but never completing them, feels a mix of determination and nerves. As the final question appears in English, she falters for a moment, unsure, her heart racing as she braces herself. The question appears, in his book, they should stop smoking. Wakaba's heart races as she fumbles with the awkward English phrasing, her anxiety building with every passing second. As the timer ticks down, she takes a deep breath, trying to steady herself. Her eyes scan the 3 options on the screen, and the second one catches her attention. It seems to align with the concept of the book. Though it feels out of place compared to the others, something in her gut tells her it might be right. Yet doubt lingers, and she feels a wave of uncertainty. She can't help but reflect on her constant struggle with indecision, a habit that's often kept her trailing behind. With only a little time left, Wakaba feels overwhelmed and admits that the word book has many meanings. Closing her eyes, she nearly gives up, saying she can't do it. Haruto reassures her, explaining that a book could mean a contract book or a registry book, pointing out that dictionaries offer many words with meanings that can completely change the context. Smiling at her, he encourages her to see that the answer will likely be the one different from the other options. Haruto explains that quitting the game isn't a good option and encourages her to answer the question. His words resonate deeply with Wakaba, and she begins to connect the meanings of the words. Reflecting on how she overcame past challenges and hardships, she clenches her fist, realizing that option 2 is the right answer. Confidently, she selects it. After seeing the correct answer, she is still in disbelief. Haruto congratulates her, praising her for achieving a great score and winning the game. Wakaba, still in shock, suddenly freezes, then claps her hands with Haruto, filled with excitement and cheers, realizing that she actually did it. She realizes it's just a game, but winning fills her with deep satisfaction and joy. After so long, she feels truly excited and proud of herself, her endless happiness. She eagerly credits Haruto for helping her get the last question right. Haruto humbly admits his English has always been good since childhood, though he's terrible at other subjects. Wakaba playfully tells him not to be so modest. Haruto asks Wakaba if she's up for playing another game. Normally, she would decline without much thought, but this time, she accepts without hesitation. Together, they play several games, and Wakaba experiences a unique joy she's never felt before, a rare and extraordinary sense of happiness. When they glance at the clock, they realize it's lunchtime. Haruto suggests going to a restaurant he knows, famous for its delicious food, and asks if she would like to go. Lunch had completely slipped Wakaba's mind, so she didn't respond immediately. Haruto reassures her that they can skip it if she's not hungry. Just then, she starts rummaging through her bag and pulls out a bento, presenting it to Haruto. He's stunned at the sight of it and asks, amazed, if it's homemade. Wakaba nods and curiously asks why he's so interested. Haruto stares at the bento intently, prompting Wakaba to pull it back. Apologetically, she explains that she didn't mention the bento earlier because she assumed Haruto had already made plans for the date, including restaurant reservations. Haruto becomes overwhelmed with emotion and starts shouting loudly, leaving Wakaba startled. Through gasping breaths, Haruto exclaims that he has finally been blessed with a homemade bento. A supreme relic, rivaling even the mightiest legendary armor, has materialized right before his eyes. He declares dramatically. Overcome, he bursts into tears, prompting Wakaba to frantically try to calm him down. As she watches him cry, Wakaba finds herself studying him closely. Despite the chaos, she realizes that being near Haruto feels strangely natural, and looking at him doesn't bring her any sense of boredom. Instead, it only draws them closer. Once they find a spot, Haruto asks if they can sit and eat there. Wakaba responds that they can enjoy their meal peacefully as long as no one else arrives, remarking on how difficult it was to find this place. They begin eating the bento, and Wakaba observes Haruto savoring the food with delight. The reason behind the bento soon becomes clear. Wakaba had brought it because Nanase had advised her to take a handmade bento on a first date. Iruma-kun excitedly says the bento is delicious and that he could easily finish 3 bowls of rice because of the tamagoyaki. Hearing this, Wakaba feels delighted and briefly wonders if he's this happy because she made it for him, though she brushes off the thought as silly. As they eat, she can't help but keep watching him. Wakaba thinks Haruto is an interesting person. His emotions are clearly visible, whether he's happy or upset. There's nothing that forces him to show happiness. If someone gets to know him, they'll realize his nature is different from the rumors. She had expected him to only talk about games and manga, but the reality was quite different. Haruto tries to care for Wakaba in every way, while she, despite her social awkwardness, is surprised at how casually she can talk to him. She finds it hard to believe he's the kind of guy she once wouldn't have spoken to. Mid-meal, Haruto apologizes for eating all the bento, calling it irresistible, and Wakaba reassures him it's fine. Haruto compliments Wakaba's cooking and asks if she cooks at home. Wakaba shares that she often helps her mother in the kitchen, unlike her twin sister, who is terrible at cooking but shows great skill with her hands. Despite being twins, their habits and abilities are completely different. Surprised, Haruto asks if she has a younger sister, meaning her family has 4 members. Wakaba happily confirms this and proudly talks about her sister. Holding ice creams, she shares that her sister is a talented host and laid back, making her quite different. She admires her sister's impressive athletic skills and considers her a good sibling who looks out for her older sister. At times, Wakaba feels envious of her because of their stark differences. She then talks about her kind and generous mother, who can be intimidating when her anger gets out of control, and her father, the only man in the house with strange hobbies but a strong sense of responsibility. Haruto asks about her father's strange hobbies, and Wakaba explains that he collects bandums, a type of figure made from plastic. Haruto excitedly shares his love for bandums, calling M91 a high-quality robot. When he asks if she likes her father's work, she reveals that not only she but her mother and sister also admire it. Her whole family does. For her, family is above everything, and she is always ready to talk about them. The conversation shows Wakaba and Haruto growing comfortable with each other, with Haruto responding politely and warmly, nodding with a smile but never overstepping boundaries. She asks Haruto about his family, and he shares that his father is a middle school teacher. Since childhood, his father has focused on ensuring Haruto receives proper upbringing. Despite this, Haruto's father has a humorous personality and often tells strange jokes. However, Haruto worries when his father drinks beer and becomes overly emotional, which makes him anxious. Haruto gestures towards Wakaba, indicating that his mother is completely different from his father in nature. She is a remarkable woman who despises losing. Recently, there was a big sale at the supermarket, and she was the first to arrive, despite the cold. No matter how chilly it gets, she always reaches the market by 4 a.m. Haruto tried to stop her, but she wouldn't listen. Even his sister, Mifuyu, often accompanies their mother to the market. When Wakaba asks about her, Haruto shares that Mifuyu is 14 years old. Haruto further explains that his sister is not physically like him, but is incredibly beautiful and intelligent. People often say she has both beauty and brains. He also mentions that he suspects Namikawa is in love with her and messages her whenever he has time. Wakaba is shocked by this. Haruto adds that his sister can be quite ruthless. She knows Namikawa loves her, and she tries to take advantage of him for her own pleasure. Wakaba finds Haruto's family quite fascinating. Every moment of life is beautiful, and Haruto wants to live each one fully. Wakaba smiles joyfully. After a while, Haruto becomes quiet, looking down, and tells Wakaba he wants to say something. When she asks what, he starts to tremble, gathering the courage. Sweat forms on his face, and he clenches his fist. Without thinking, he quickly asks which thing she likes about him. The question shocks Wakaba. Wakaba doesn't answer Haruto's question and becomes nervous. Haruto apologizes, saying he shouldn't have asked, and asks her not to be upset. To cheer her up, he explains he was just curious. A young boy suddenly runs up, pointing at Haruto and loudly comparing him to a pig. Moments later, an adult hurries over, clearly flustered, and begins apologizing, explaining that the boy is being disciplined for such behavior. Haruto, however, quickly intervenes, reassuring the adult that it's not a big deal, and crouches down to address the boy directly. Curious about the boy's interests, Haruto asks if he likes pigs. The boy's face lights up with enthusiasm as he eagerly talks about how much he loves pigs, not just for their funny sounds, but also for how tasty pork dishes are. Laughing, Haruto plays along, teasing that pork really is delicious. The boy, now feeling a connection, decides to give Haruto a playful nickname and asks for his real name in return. After learning it, the boy repeats it with a big grin, clearly enjoying the exchange. The adult, mindful of the time, gently pulls the boy away, reminding him of their plans, but not before the boy waves goodbye to Haruto with newfound admiration. Haruto stands, smiling as he watches them leave, then glances at Wakaba. She seems amused but remains quiet, her expression softening from the interaction. After learning it, they start chatting. The man, noticing the quiet tension, apologizes to Wakaba and curiously asks if they are on a date. She simply responds with a soft yes. The man, eager to move on, calls Taichi, reminding him that the movie is about to start. Taichi, who has been sticking close to Haruto, announces he's leaving to watch a penguin movie. Haruto, intrigued, mentions he's heard a lot about penguin anime and that the movie's ratings are pretty good. With excitement, Taichi reveals that he's heard the film features many gods, sparking a thoughtful pause from Haruto. Curious, he asks if Taichi means the 8 million deities. Taichi, wide-eyed, agrees, and Haruto, with a grin, explains that in simple terms, it's a poetic reference to everything in nature, from fire to rain and even toilets. Taichi is left stunned by this fascinating cultural tidbit. Just then, Taichi's dad calls him, gently pulling him away. Taichi can be seen with his dad, and Haruto wonders if he should continue his lunch. After finishing, they start heading back, with Wakaba lost in thought. Haruto, noticing her silence, remarks that the child was truly adorable. Wakaba agrees and adds that Haruto seems to know a lot about random things, especially the 8 million deities, as he didn't even hesitate while talking about it. Haruto explains that he has a passion for collecting random facts, often reading them in random news. He also mentions that the movie the kid wanted to watch is a bit sad because it reflects how, when one is forgotten by everyone, they become like gods who fade away. Wakaba, pondering, grows quiet, feeling that if she disappears, it wouldn't even matter to people. Seeing her sadness, Haruto suddenly stops and says that there are things in this world that can't be seen with the eyes. These things usually don't reveal themselves, but he believes they always stay with us, protecting us. She asks if he's talking about deities or fairies. Haruto quickly shifts the topic, mentioning a Western myth where the dead become fairies, invisible and unheard by most, except for the special ones. He explains these fairies differ greatly from Japanese ghosts. With a playful smile, he asks Wakaba if she believed him if he claimed to talk to them. Haruto playfully tells Wakaba that fairies had described her as an innocent girl before they met. Surprised and confused, she relaxes when he laughs and admits he was joking. Scolding him for the lie, she lightens up as Haruto explains he noticed she seemed upset earlier and wanted to cheer her up. He takes responsibility for any awkwardness at the cinema, and seeing her improved mood, reassures her there's no need to worry anymore. Wakaba places her hands on her heart, feeling an unexpected sense of peace and realizing how much she has enjoyed the date. It feels like a pivotal moment, affirming her decision to come. Her phone buzzes with a message from Nanase, reminding her of the assignment and requesting a picture. The reminder shifts her mood, but she asks Haruto for help. He readily agrees, albeit nervously. She strikes a confident pose, masking her emotions with a forced smile. After snapping the photo, she thanks him, though her lingering sadness is hard to hide. Wakaba appears upset again, and Haruto, noticing this, gently asks if she's okay. She responds that she's fine, though her expression betrays her. With a kind gesture, he points towards a bench, suggesting she rest for a while, assuring her there's no need to feel troubled as he's often here. He then looks inside the shop, gets permission from the manager, and informs Wakaba that they can sit there and offers her a tea. As she opens the bottle of tea, Wakaba's mind drifts back to his earlier question about what she likes inside. In that moment, she realizes with a quiet certainty that she no longer harbors any discomfort with Haruto's presence. Wakaba starts recalling the events at the cinema, and with a sense of honesty admits to herself that Haruto is a kind person. Tears start to well up in her eyes as she acknowledges this, but she quickly pushes away the thought of developing a romantic relationship with him. She regrets thinking such things and, feeling a wave of sadness, rests her hands on her face. Just then, she notices Haruto peeking outside and asks if everything's okay. He nervously reassures her that nothing's wrong and asks if she's alright. Wakaba thanks him for being so considerate and asks what he's looking at. Haruto, waving his hand nervously, says it's nothing. At that moment, a large, intimidating man enters the shop, his appearance quite unsettling. The intimidating man is the manager, and Haruto thanks him for lending a chair. The manager reassures him, saying it's fine, and asks if Wakaba is okay. Haruto explains that the manager owns the store and is kind-hearted despite his appearance. Wakaba thanks the manager, and he teasingly asks if she's Haruto's girlfriend. The manager chuckles, amused that a kid like Haruto has such a sweet and lovely girlfriend, calling it nothing short of a miracle. Embarrassed, Haruto protests, prompting the manager to laugh and admit he was joking. Pointing to a toy, the manager asks Wakaba if she likes it. She explains it's something she's wanted for a long time, and after much effort, she finally managed to get one. Hearing this, Haruto eagerly pulls the manager aside, declaring he'll buy it. Soon after, Haruto is seen holding a box, and Wakaba curiously asks what he bought. Haruto excitedly shows Wakaba the Golden Dragon King Gunpla, a rare and expensive-looking limited edition paying tribute to the 1st to 4th generation Dragon King models. The set features 4 unique designs, with the 3rd generation model almost perfect if only it had a lightning saber. As Haruto passionately rambles, the manager interrupts, warning him that his antics might drive his girlfriend away. In regret, Haruto loudly admits he's lost control again and broken his promise to avoid otaku topics around Wakaba, feeling his efforts wasted. The manager hands Haruto another box, prompting him to ask if it's a Gunpla or another model that looks old. The manager reveals it's a gift for Haruto, adding that if he spends 100 yen on it, he'll even throw in another. Skeptical, Haruto accuses the manager of just clearing out old stock, insisting he doesn't need it. Teasingly, the manager suggests Haruto plans to gift it to his girlfriend, infuriating Haruto, who vehemently denies it, calling the idea ridiculous. Wakaba admires the robotic model, recalling how her father once built something similar. The manager, noticing her interest, confirms it and offers the model to Haruto at a fair price. As Haruto hesitates, the manager hands the box to Wakaba, thanking her and leaving Haruto visibly exasperated. Haruto sighs, acknowledging he can't win against the manager, and apologizes for involving her. Wakaba assures him she's happy with the gift, easing his concern. Walking together, they reach the train station. Wakaba expresses her joy about the day, and Haruto asks if she'll be fine heading home alone. She smiles, reassuring him before they part ways. As Haruto waves goodbye, Wakaba lingers, quietly watching him until he's out of sight. Later at home, a soft smile graces her face, a newfound warmth blooming within her. After their first date, the distance between Haruto and Wakaba slowly diminished. After school break, Wakaba notices Haruto, who apologizes for making her wait. She reassures him, saying it's no big deal, and asks if they should go home together. They begin walking together, and Haruto mentions that Bizen keeps pestering him to play a game. Wakaba asks if Haruto was forced to provoke Bizen, to which Haruto responds he wasn't. Wakaba now feels completely at ease talking to Haruto, realizing that after school, they've developed a routine of sharing their daily lives, which feels good. She starts to believe that this is enough for a relationship, but she also realizes it's not enough for other girls who have a more charismatic approach. Nanase slams her hand on the table, visibly angry, and tells Wakaba enough is enough. She scolds her, saying she's not a child, and asks if Wakaba is truly putting in the effort to deepen her relationship. If she keeps it shallow like this, the game will never end. Nanase then sharply asks if Asahina-san even knows what a real relationship is. Shoji tries to calm Nanase down, reassuring her, and then tells Wakaba that she believes she understands what it means to be someone's girlfriend. Nanase, still frustrated, leans in and whispers in Wakaba's ear that she could be wrong. She tells Wakaba to be grateful that they're giving her advice willingly. As far as Nanase is concerned, she doubts that Wakaba has ever dated anyone seriously. Nanase places her hand on Wakaba's lips and jokingly tells her that on their next date, she should kiss Haruto on the cheek. Hearing this, Wakaba's eyes widen in shock, and she quickly protests, saying she can't do that and asks Nanase not to make her do something like this. Nanase, determined to make her listen, tells Wakaba she has no right to refuse and that she should simply do as she's told. Wakaba, with her head lowered, quietly responds that she understands. On their second date, Wakaba seems to have no feelings of hatred toward Haruto, but becoming his girlfriend feels like a completely different matter. She gets nervous even thinking about holding hands with a guy, and though holding hands isn't a bad thing, she feels she lacks the courage for it. The thought of kissing someone she has no feelings for seems painful to her. Wakaba sits, looking sad and lost in thought. She glances at the clock and realizes 30 minutes have passed, yet Haruto still hasn't shown up. She checks her phone, seeing that Haruto hadn't bothered to inform her. She begins to wonder if he's really as responsible as she thought and regrets not thinking about this sooner. By now, a lot of time has passed, and Wakaba worries that their date might be canceled. Feeling discouraged, she tries to calm herself, telling herself she should wait a little longer. She reasons that Haruto must be late because his train was delayed, and there's no harm in waiting a bit more. However, after a while, she checks her phone and sees it's 10:40. Wakaba becomes increasingly anxious, wondering if something bad has happened to Haruto. She's about to call him when, unexpectedly, his call comes through. Wakaba becomes instantly nervous. She quickly picks up the call, nervously asking Haruto where he is. Haruto's voice comes through, apologizing and explaining that something urgent came up, and he doesn't think he'll be able to meet her today. Wakaba, relieved that he isn't hurt or in an accident, thanks her lucky stars. Haruto promises they will meet again soon, apologizing once more for today. Wakaba reassures him, saying it's fine. He mentions they'll see each other at school, and then the call ends. She wonders what to do next when she notices Teichi and his dad, who are discussing how it's too early for lunch. She feels sure these are the same people she always runs into, or maybe it's just a coincidence. Teichi, looking around, asks where the man went, then starts to tear up, worried because he was just there a moment ago. He's convinced he'll find him soon and thinks about going back to check. Teichi, still crying, consoles himself insisting that Haruto will be fine. But when Wakaba hears this, she panics and asks what happened. Teichi, blaming himself, clings to Wakaba, and their tension momentarily shifts to an unexpected closeness. Teichi's dad explains that he had been caught up in a conversation with an old friend and lost track of time. Meanwhile, Haruto, passing by, notices Teichi crying. He and Teichi's dad set out to search for him. After a while, they spot Teichi on the other side of the street. Teichi rushes toward them, but the pedestrian signal is red, and as a train approaches, Haruto pulls Teichi back, injuring himself in the process. Haruto falls into a pond, covered in mud. His dad is unsure if he's okay, but Haruto quickly asks for time and runs off. These events weigh heavily on Wakaba, breaking her. Haruto's dad advises that if anyone spots him again, they should inform him immediately, especially if Haruto has suffered a head injury. Just then, Wakaba spots a familiar figure near the station. Thinking it might be Haruto, she rushes toward him and calls out, recognizing him by the signature on his shirt. Haruto looks in terrible condition, his clothes torn and dirty, walking as though barely able to stand. Wakaba is shocked, unable to believe what she's seeing. She wonders if he's lost everything or if something else is happening. Passers-by shout insults, calling him dirty and overweight, even taking pictures and mocking him. Seeing all this, Wakaba murmurs, these people have no idea what Haruto has been through. Just then, Haruto's friends rush to his side, asking what happened to him and why he's in such a state. Haruto asks them why they're here. The three sit down on the ground, and Bizen asks why Haruto didn't go on his date with Wakaba as planned. He wonders what went wrong. Meanwhile, people around continue to insult Haruto, which makes Bizen furious. He turns toward them, glaring, and tells them to mind their own business and leave. After everyone else walks away, Bizen asks Haruto what really happened. Haruto, smiling faintly, says it was just an accident. He fell, got dirty, and lost hope. Wakaba is confused, unable to understand why Haruto is saying this. His friends, not believing him, insist that no one would end up like this just from falling. They urge him to tell the truth about what really happened, though they don't seem to care about his condition anymore. Haruto insists he's not lying, still smiling, which only frustrates Bizen more. Bizen, upset, says that Haruto, as foolish as he looks on the outside, is just as foolish on the inside. Takegawa steps in, trying to calm Bizen, reminding him that Haruto has given his explanation, and that should be enough. Bizen finally agrees, and Takegawa gently places a cloth on Haruto's wounds. Haruto, grateful, thanks his friends. Bizen asks Haruto what happened to his date, given his disheveled state. Haruto, wiping his face with a handkerchief, explains that he canceled the date, telling Wakaba he had business to attend to. He adds that meeting her in his current condition would have been embarrassing for her. Hearing this, Wakaba looks stunned, almost as if in disbelief. Haruto continues, saying it doesn't matter how many people laugh or mock him, he's used to it by now. Clenching the handkerchief in his hand, tears begin to fall as he breaks down, admitting how painful it is. Through his tears, he confesses that a girl finally worked up the courage to confess to him, and he refuses to let her be ridiculed because of him. Haruto, overwhelmed with guilt, says he wants to apologize to all his friends, acknowledging how much they've supported him. He laments making Wakaba wait so long in the freezing cold and calls himself a complete loser. Hearing this, Takegawa encourages him, saying there's no need to worry, and he doesn't think Wakaba will break up with him. He reassures Haruto that there are still plenty of opportunities to win her heart and that he shouldn't torment himself over this. Instead, he should focus on apologizing sincerely to Wakaba. Watching the trio comfort and motivate each other, Wakaba feels a sense of peace and calls their bond a sweet friendship. However, as Haruto's words replay in her mind, she begins to feel increasingly sad. Wakaba notices a little girl sitting near a tree, crying. Concerned, she approaches and gently asks why she's upset. Between sobs, the girl explains that her mother asked her to complete some chores, but her purse got stuck in the tree. Wakaba starts searching and soon spots the purse caught in the branches. Retrieving it, she remarks that it's likely the work of some naughty kids. She returns the purse, and the girl, overjoyed, hugs her tightly. They sit on a bench together, chatting, and Wakaba learns the girl's name is Haruka. Haruka shares stories about her beloved dog, Ren, whom she considers her best friend and treats like an older sister. She recalls how, a few days ago, Ren ate her dad's jerky, causing a big commotion. From their conversation, Wakaba realizes just how deeply Haruka cares for Ren. Haruka grows quiet, her expression turning sad. Concerned, Wakaba asks what's wrong. Haruka explains that her parents once told her Ren wouldn't always be with her, and she's unsure if relying so much on her dog is the right choice. Before the mood grows heavy, Haruka brightens, declaring with determination that no matter what happens, she'll never change. She then happily announces that she and Ren will always stay joyful together because he's her most precious friend. Haruka asks if Wakaba has someone like Ren, a special friend she loves spending time with, playing, or going for walks with. Wakaba pauses, thinking of someone who could hold that place in her life. Only one name comes to mind: Haruto. The thought of him makes her heart heavy and sadness clouds her face. Haruka notices and quickly apologizes for asking. Wakaba forces a small smile and reassures her softly, "It's fine." Just then, Ren appears, barking excitedly and licking Haruka. She scolds him for removing his leash but introduces him to Wakaba. As Ren looks at Haruka, she seems to understand him. Realizing she has tasks to finish, Haruka thanks Wakaba warmly, assuring her they'll meet again, and leaves with Ren. Wakaba watches them go, admiring Haruka's sweetness and diligence. A gentle warmth blooms in her heart. The scene transitions to the morning as Wakaba walks towards school, looking tired. Her steps are heavy as her mind is still burdened by the memories of yesterday. She did not sleep well through the night, her heart troubled and restless. A tough day awaits, and she already feels drained. More than the lack of sleep, it's the thought of facing Nanane and the others. If she told them her date was canceled, they would have scolded her, even over the phone. She's deep in thought, wondering what to tell them, when a voice suddenly calls her name. Startled, she stops in her tracks and quickly turns around. Standing behind her is Haruto, causing her cheeks to flush lightly without her meaning to. He greets her politely, his voice steady and respectful. She returns the greeting, still surprised, but before she can relax, he bows deeply in front of her. The sudden action startles her. His voice trembles with regret as he apologizes for his rude behavior the previous day. She looks at him in silence for a moment, unable to understand why he is acting with such sincerity. Then she gently tells him that it's fine. She asks him to raise his head, and he does so. Though uninjured, his expression unsettles her. There's something deeper that troubles her still. After a pause, she gathers her courage and asks about the emergency from yesterday. Her eyes fix on him, demanding honesty. Helping Teichi is a noble reason, but he knows a mistake could have happened if he had acted wrongly. He forces a calm demeanor, but panic flickers across his face. He admits that he lied, claiming he simply overslept. His rushed explanation feels hollow, and Wakaba's eyes widen as she realizes he is still hiding something. She wonders why he refuses to tell her the truth when he has a justifiable excuse. Perhaps he does not wish to involve Teichi-kun or use his name so carelessly. She asks if his body is hurting anywhere. Haruto hesitates before answering that he is fine. Her frustration breaks through as she raises her voice, declaring that if he is lying, she will never forgive him. Haruto insists that he is perfectly healthy. Shifting her tone, she teases him and demands that he take her to the cake shop where they had their first date as an apology. His surprise shows clearly, but when she giggles, he agrees gladly. The next day, Wakaba walks nervously towards first-year class 1. In her hand, she holds a small lunchbox, squeezing it tightly with unease. Yesterday, Haruto had taken her to the cake shop as she asked. During their time together, he requested the picture from their first date. Wakaba disliked how she looked in it, so she refused. Instead, they struck a deal. She promised to make the bento he liked, and now she has come to fulfill her promise. Her steps falter as she reaches the door of his classroom. 2 boys notice her presence. One of them asks why she is there, startling her so much that she struggles to form words. The boy quickly apologizes and introduces himself as Date Ryuichi from Class 1, along with his twin brother Date Ryuji from Class 2. The Date brothers are infamous across the school for gathering information about everyone. Wakaba politely introduces herself, though her nerves remain. The twins exchange looks as if they already know her. They openly reveal that Haruto has spoken about her, praising her kindness and cuteness. Wakaba wonders whether they are Haruto's friends, but when she asks about him, they continue instead to discuss his personality. They describe him as an interesting person despite his outward image, but they wish he were less obsessed with the two-dimensional world. With boldness, they state their high expectations of Wakaba, hoping she can teach Haruto the joys of the real world. Wakaba remains silent, listening without interruption. The brothers continue, recalling a recent incident. 2 classmates had started a fight, and Haruto rushed in to stop them. Both fighters struck him across the face, but instead of retaliating, Haruto asked if they were satisfied. Then he suddenly shouted at them to stop fighting and listen to his lecture about the 100 erotic games that made him cry. The absurdity shifted the fight. The two boys turned their anger toward Haruto, but the tension between them was broken. The fight ended in chaos and laughter, and though Haruto became the target, he was never truly their enemy. Wakaba smiles faintly, amused by this side of him. Just then, a familiar voice drifts from inside the classroom. Haruto speaks enthusiastically to his classmates, boasting that he studied dating sims and arrow games for real-life situations. With excitement, he declares that he cleared 5 games in one night. He insists he will use this knowledge to make his girlfriend happy. His classmates react with disbelief. Izuka Yuko challenges him, claiming he cannot even kiss a girl properly. Koju Kanem agrees, saying that Haruto only brags. Another boy complains bitterly about Haruto having a girlfriend while he remains single. Haruto insists with confidence that he must keep high spirits because he has a cute girlfriend he wishes to make happy. He begins to paint an elaborate picture of a romantic night, imagining himself kissing Asahina Wakaba. The class groans in disgust at his enthusiasm, unaware that Wakaba herself is standing at the doorway, her face flushed with embarrassment. Namikawa-shun comments casually that Haruto is acting as usual. Bison sighs and watches. Suddenly, Bison notices someone waiting behind Haruto and points it out. Haruto turns and freezes. His shock is immediate, and he cries out, demanding to know why Wakaba is there. Wakaba, hiding her nerves, simply says that she came to talk to him. The classmates fall silent, stunned at the sight of his girlfriend. Then they erupt, cheering Haruto and praising his luck. Tears spring to Haruto's eyes as he thanks them, overwhelmed by their kindness. Namikawa apologizes to Wakaba for the scene, but she assures him that her surprise is not from their crude conversation. Instead, she is touched by Haruto's relationship with his classmates. His reputation outside may be harsh, but here, the warmth of his peers is undeniable. Namikawa remarks that Haruto's cheerfulness naturally spreads, making those around him smile. Haruto trembles from the shock of Wakaba's presence until Bison smacks him on the head, telling him to stop panicking. Finally, Haruto steadies himself, apologizes for the chaos, and asks Wakaba why she came. She lifts the lunchbox, explaining gently that she brought it for him and asking if they could eat together. Emotion overwhelms Haruto again. Tears spill from his eyes as he declares himself the luckiest person alive. The class gathers around Wakaba warmly. Yuko introduces herself and encourages Wakaba to visit often, asking her to share Haruto's embarrassing failures. Koju also offers support, asking Wakaba to tell her if Haruto ever misbehaves. Soon, Haruto and Wakaba leave the classroom together. They sit outside, and Haruto opens the lunchbox eagerly. He tastes the food, his face lighting up with delight as he praises its flavor. Wakaba watches him, her eyes soft with an unfamiliar tenderness. She reflects quietly that Haruto is more admired than she expected. His classmates genuinely care for him, and he brings brightness into their days. A flicker of doubt crosses her mind. He's not quite the same as her. Her contemplation breaks when Haruto calls her name. She turns, startled, and without warning, he offers her a bite of the food she prepared. Surprised, she scolds him lightly for his suddenness, but he asks earnestly how it tastes. She admits it is good, though she hides her embarrassment. Haruto apologizes once more for the scene in class, explaining that his feelings for her sometimes overflow and make him reckless. He promises never to show her a bad side on purpose. Wakaba assures him she is not upset. He exhales in relief, joking that he felt as though he had fallen into hell. She teases him, reminding him that she always knew he was mischievous. He insists that he is a gentleman, not naughty, but she playfully points out that he even tried holding a girl's hand in the dark. They both laugh. Seeing her genuine smile, Haruto softly remarks that she looks very cute when she smiles. Wakaba's eyes widened at his words. She realizes that moments like this, simple and warm, are rare for her at school. She utters her own name, Wakaba, prompting him to call her that from now on. When he does, his voice trembles with emotion, as though his dreams are finally real. She notices the depth of his hopes and teases him about them. That day, she forgets entirely that her relationship with him began as a game. For the first time in a long while, Wakaba laughs from the bottom of her heart and shares a connection beyond her family's reach. It is another morning, much like any other. Both sisters are running late for school again. Wakaba urges Futaba to hurry, her voice sharp but familiar. They finally step out of their house after saying goodbye, their footsteps quick against the pavement. Outside, Futaba glances at her sister and remarks that she seems a little different lately. She adds that her tone has softened, her way of speaking feels warmer, and she likes that change very much. With a bright smile, Futaba waves to her sister before heading down her own route. Wakaba is left momentarily stunned by her words. She watches her younger sister walk away, then turns to head towards her own pathway. Determination hardens her expression as she quickens her pace, intent on winning the small, silent race she shares every morning. But before she can push further ahead, Haruto suddenly steps out from hiding, blocking her way. He greets her cheerfully, his presence startling her so much that she nearly jumps. Breathless, Wakaba snaps at him in irritation, declaring that next time she will be the one to reach there first. Haruto chuckles softly, teasing that she will probably say the same thing tomorrow as well. Her frustration grows as she turns her back, feigning annoyance with a frown. Yet only a moment later she spins around again, her lips curling into a soft smile. With an almost shy voice, she greets him properly, this time calling him by his first name. Haruto blushes at the sound of it, his composure breaking under her sudden sweetness. They continue walking to school together, the rhythm between them steady and comfortable. A week has passed since they began calling each other by their first names. At first it felt awkward, the words sticking in their throats, but little by little it became natural. The resistance Wakaba once felt towards Haruto has faded, replaced with a warmth she does not fully understand. Sometimes embarrassment still lingers when their eyes meet, and she cannot decipher the feelings swelling inside her chest. Yet their casual conversations fill her with joy. His smile has a way of lighting up her mood, and she feels certain that her days with Haruto are both fun and exciting. When they reach the classroom of the first year, Wakaba asks gently if he has eaten well that morning. Haruto answers playfully, saying that the only food worth eating is the one made by Wakaba herself. Their entrance does not go unnoticed. Yuko, one of Haruto's classmates, smirks and comments that Wakaba must be mortified again today. Huju joins in, teasing that it requires bravery to deal with something unpleasant. Their words irritate Haruto, who pulls faces at them and demands that they stop speaking so unkindly. Just then, one of the date brothers approaches and points out with mischief that Haruto should accept the truth. Many students are jealous of him for being able to share lunch with his girlfriend alone. His twin agrees instantly, nodding with amusement. While Haruto protests their words, Wakaba quietly slips away from his classroom, giggling softly to herself at the sight of his flustered face. The moment she returns to her own classroom, however, her expression changes. She sits silently at her seat, her cheerful mood dimming. Nanase soon appears before her, her eyes sharp as she questions Wakaba. She asks if Wakaba is working hard and whether she has packed lunch for Haruto. She remarks with a mocking laugh that she herself would never do such a thing. With a cruel twist to her tone, she calls Haruto pork manju. Wakaba stares at her with an odd expression, her patience strained. Nanase notices her look but giggles again, claiming she only makes such a face because she dislikes him so much. She continues her taunting, amused by Wakaba's silence. Wakaba clenches her fist under the desk, choosing not to retaliate. Suddenly, Wakaba hears her name being called softly. Startled, she looks up and sees Ruri Yajima standing beside her. Though they are classmates, they rarely speak. Yajima keeps her distance from Nanase's group and avoids their schemes. Now her timid voice asks Wakaba if it is hard being forced to go out with Haruto. Wakaba's fist tightens further, her silence growing heavier. Seeing her like this, Yajima unexpectedly begins to cry, apologizing through sobs. Wakaba is bewildered by her tears but tries to comfort her, even as Yajima trembles. Her words spill out between shaky breaths. Admitting that she has never agreed with the atmosphere in the class, she says she has been unable to retaliate, unable to stop the cruelty, and now she is consumed with guilt. She confesses her fear, trembling as she admits that she once thought Wakaba might harm herself because of the frightening look she sometimes carries. Wakaba is struck by her words. She realizes that Yajima has misunderstood her expressions, mistaking them for something darker. She considers that perhaps her own face does look unusual, a reflection of the strain she endures, and she wonders whether she truly frightens others. Yajima continues, broken-hearted, apologizing again for not standing up to the group when it mattered. Other classmates glance at them, sadness written across their faces, but none step forward. They remain silent, eyes downcast. They know all too well the danger of becoming a target. One mistake could bring endless torment, just as it has for Wakaba. Yajima is an exception, a little braver than the others, willing to speak despite her fear. Wakaba feels no resentment towards her now. Instead, she feels sorry for causing her such worry. She gently tells Yajima to raise her head, reassuring her that she is truly fine. Leaning closer, she whispers softly in her ear. She tells her that Haruto is a gentle person, that the rumors are false. Yajima's eyes widen at her words. Wakaba adds quietly that if Yajima truly feels sorry, then she should stop saying bad things about Haruto. That would be enough. Nanase's group lingers at the doorway. Wakaba urges Yajima to return to her seat before she draws their attention. Yajima wipes her tears quickly and obeys, retreating with a heavy heart. Wakaba breathes deeply, her calm returning. She reassures herself that Yajima will be all right too. Yet she pauses, reflecting. When she begins to feel this way, she does not yet know. School ends and she meets Haruto once again. Time seems to slip away quickly whenever she is with him. Today, however, they cannot stop by the station as he has other commitments. On her way home, Wakaba receives a call from her mother, reminding her to buy ingredients for hot pot. With no market nearby, she turns back towards town. At the market, festive decorations for Christmas catch her eye. She is struck with the sudden thought that Haruto will be part of this year's season. Panic seizes her briefly, as she does not know how she should face such thoughts. She tries to push them aside and focus on her errand. Then she sees him. Haruto is walking with a woman carrying her shopping bags. Wakaba quickly hides, her heart pounding. She watches as the woman cheerfully tells Haruto that she has only just begun shopping and that he should use his mouth if his hands are full. Haruto laughs nervously, refusing. Wakaba appears from her hiding spot, troubled. He has mentioned a younger sister before, but this woman is not acting like one. Perhaps she is just a friend. But then the woman loops her arm around his neck and pulls him along, their closeness making Wakaba's chest tighten. Shock ripples through her as jealousy takes root. She wonders if this woman might be his real girlfriend, if Haruto only accepted her confession out of pity. Her steps quicken as she decides to follow, but in her haste she trips and falls. Haruto notices immediately and rushes towards her. He kneels and asks if she is all right. Wakaba scrambles up quickly, insisting loudly that nothing happened and she is fine. He accepts her words calmly, but his hand gently rests on her head, startling them both. Flustered, he pulls back, awkwardly remarking that her house is in the opposite direction. She tries to explain about shopping, but before she can finish, the woman approaches. Leaning close, the woman points at Wakaba and asks who she is. Haruto answers without hesitation, introducing her as his girlfriend. The woman bursts with excitement, praising Haruto and admiring Wakaba. Haruto scolds her lightly for pointing, but she continues teasing him, thrilled that he has shown interest in real girls at last. Wakaba is utterly confused, unable to predict this woman's reactions. The woman ruffles Haruto's hair affectionately, and he blurts out for her to stop embarrassing him in front of his girlfriend. He calls her mom. Wakaba freezes, her shock immense. Quickly, she bows and introduces herself formally. The woman smiles warmly, first introducing herself as Bizun before correcting to Natsuki Iruma. She thanks Wakaba for taking care of her son and entrusts him to her care. Wakaba replies in kind, still reeling from surprise. Natsuki notices Wakaba's shopping bag and asks if she is heading home. Wakaba explains that she is shopping for her mother. Natsuki urges Haruto to help her instead. He agrees but worries about his mother's bags. She laughs and refuses, teasing Wakaba further by telling her to make him work as much as she can. Both Haruto and Wakaba blush at her playful remarks, but Haruto quickly leads Wakaba away before his mother can embarrass them further. As they walk together, Wakaba softly asks if she has caused him trouble. Haruto smiles and assures her she has not, telling her not to worry about what happened. Wakaba glances back at his mother, her mind tangled in confusion. But when Haruto asks if something is wrong, she denies it. She quickens her steps, saying they need to catch the limited time sale. Side by side, with small tasks and shared moments, they resemble a loving couple. Haruto and Wakaba walk together after finishing their shopping, the bags hanging from Haruto's hands. Wakaba glances at him with concern and tells him that he does not need to put himself into so much effort. Haruto shakes his head gently, assuring her that it is fine for him, and quietly adds that if he lets her carry the groceries, his mother would scold him later. However, seeing her pout, Haruto politely asks if they should stop for some tea, and Wakaba suggests that they go to their usual bakery. He agrees with her, and they both begin to make their way there. On the way, a voice suddenly calls out to Wakaba, addressing her as Oni-chan. It is Futaba, who appears before them by chance. Wakaba grows uneasy at the sight, wondering why her sister always shows up at such perfect times. Haruto confirms that it is indeed Futaba and steps forward to greet her warmly. He introduces himself politely, and Futaba, with her usual cheerful nature, greets him in return. She teases Wakaba without hesitation, remarking that it is unusual to see her with a boy, and mischievously adds that he must be her special person. Wakaba stiffens at the teasing remark, her cheeks turning warm. Before the moment can settle, a group approaches from behind. 3 people, 2 girls and a boy, rush toward Futaba. The one leading the group, with an irritated tone, scolds Futaba for suddenly running off and leaving them behind. Futaba immediately bows her head and apologizes to them. Wakaba sighs lightly and mutters to Haruto that her sister is careless at times. The girl with glasses and the boy in the group smile at Futaba's apology, softening the tense moment. The boy steps forward, calming down their angry companion, and then turns his attention to Futaba. He asks her about the lady beside her, prompting Futaba to step close and hug Oni-chan. Futaba proudly introduces Wakaba as her elder twin sister. The group introduces themselves in turn. The girl with glasses is Tono Yukari, the other girl is Aramori Kazuo, and the boy is Nida Chanatsu. As the introductions end, the 2 girls suddenly notice Haruto standing quietly beside Wakaba. Their expressions change, and both Aramori and Tono recognize him immediately. Their voices rise in surprise as they ask why Haruto is there. Haruto recognizes them as well and greets them. Yet before the atmosphere can calm, Aramori steps forward with a sharp tone and exclaims that they have been worried about him. She explains that he vanished after changing his phone number and email, leaving them with no way to reach him. The air grows heavy as Futaba and Nida exchange stunned glances, sensing the tension in the sudden reunion. Wakaba also grows curious, unsure of the weight of this situation. Haruto bows his head respectfully, folding his hands in apology. He explains that they were classmates in middle school until he transferred midway. With sincerity, he apologizes for disappearing without notice. His eyes, however, linger subtly on Wakaba. Then, with a half-smile, he mutters to Wakaba that she is the one he loves, so she need not worry. His words make Wakaba freeze in shock, and Haruto mischievously teases her further by saying that his girlfriend is already jealous. Wakaba's expression shifts from shock to frustration, and she scolds him loudly, accusing him of playing indecent games whenever she is not paying attention. Embarrassed, Haruto utters that she promised to keep it a secret. But Nida suddenly steps forward with interest and asks Haruto directly if he plays Oroge. Caught off guard, Haruto admits with hesitation that he plays, though he insists that he does so with the manners of a gentleman. Nida's eyes light up, and he immediately begins bombarding Haruto with questions about games. Futaba sighs in anger, warning Nida to stop before he gets carried away, but he and Haruto begins an animated discussion nonetheless. Meanwhile, Kazuho shifts closer to Wakaba and studies her. She observes softly that Haruto seems to have changed a great deal. Wakaba responds by asking them what he was like in middle school. Kazuho begins to explain that Haruto had been completely different back then. He was gloomy and shy, constantly nervous about the world around him. Whenever trouble arose, their classmate Namikawa would step in to cover for him. Haruto's timidness was so deep that he could barely stand up for himself. Tono adds that Haruto has clearly worked on himself since then. Kazuho continues explaining that the bullying also slowed down gradually, but his timidness did not change, so she and Namikawa helped him in studies and homework. Also, Haruto often helped her by teaching her English, the one subject in which he excelled. As the conversation deepens, Wakaba learns something that stuns her. Tono tells her that he had to do all the house courses as he did not have a mother. Kazuo reveals that he lived only with his father, and he never mentioned having a mother. Wakaba looks puzzled, her mind struggling to connect this with what she knows. Kazuho explains further that Haruto had a very close bond with his father. Despite being timid, he grew lively and expressive when speaking about him. Tona's face saddens as she recalls that bond, then mentions softly that something happened to his father. Wakaba's heart tightens, and she presses them to explain. Kazuho hesitates before finally recounting the story. During their second year of middle school, Haruto was bullied and pushed near the stairwell. He fell and injured his leg badly. Though his bones were not broken, the fall left him hospitalized. Hearing this, his father immediately left work early and rushed toward the hospital. but in his panic he failed to notice a truck at a junction. He was struck and died instantly. Wakaba freezes, her breath catching in her throat. She recalls moments when Haruto spoke of his father in the past tense and realizes that the signs had always been there. She wonders why she never noticed until now. Kazuho continues, explaining that Haruto broke down after the funeral, consumed with guilt. He blamed himself for his father's death and refused to listen to anyone, not even Namikawa, who tried to comfort him. Shortly after, he silently transferred schools. With relief in her tone, Kazuto remarks that seeing Haruto smiling again now is a joy, and she thanks Wakaba, believing it is because of her. But Wakaba does not share the same ease. She lowers herself to a seat, holding her mouth in shock. Memories of Haruto's quiet questions about her family return vividly, and she realizes she has been insensitive. Tona notices Wakaba's pale face and asks if she is all right. Futaba rushes over protectively, demanding to know if Kazuho said anything upsetting. Kazuho insists she only shared the truth. Wakaba quietly answers that she is fine, though her voice trembles. In the next moment, Haruto steps forward and offers her his handkerchief, asking gently if they should skip tea and return home. Wakaba accepts the handkerchief and nods in agreement. They walk side by side in silence, the weight of the revelations heavy between them. After a long pause, Haruto apologizes for not telling her earlier. Wakaba asks if he overheard the conversation, and he admits that he did because they were speaking loudly. Wakaba halts suddenly and turns to him, her voice soft yet heavy. She apologizes for being selfish, admitting that she only talks about herself without considering his pain. She calls herself gloomy and insists that he has every right to resent her. Her mind spirals, believing she has only caused him hurt. Haruto calls her name to pull her back. He reassures her that what happened was 2 years ago, and he does not hate her. He raises his hand with a thumbs up, smiling, and tells her that they are even now. To lighten her mood, he adds playfully that if she is still unsatisfied, she can put more snacks in his bento. Though he tries to cheer her, Wakaba's mind lingers on the pain hidden beneath his smile. She recalls the look in his eyes when they saw Daichi with his father on their first date. She knows his wounds remain unhealed. Silence returns until Haruto breaks it gently, telling her that he enjoys hearing her talk about her family because her smile in those moments warms him. He assures her that he wants to see her happy. Wakaba's heart softens, and she thanks him quietly. Haruto teases that she has apologized far too many times today and warns her not to make a face like a death mask. He jokes that she should not become like his mother and adds with a smirk that she should not use his sister Mafiu as an example either. Wakaba recalls Kazuho's words about him not having a mother, but Haruto explains the truth. His mother is alive, but their family circumstances separated them. He reveals that his mother, Natsuki, was from the Bizun family, a household known for strict traditions. She left them to marry his father, but when his father fell into debt, the Bizun family agreed to clear it on the condition that Natsuki return. She divorced his father, returned to her family, and remarried. Mafuyu was born later, and after Haruto's father died, Mafuyu sought him out and brought him back to his mother's household. Haruto speaks of his father with respect, recalling how he guided him, even if he is no longer physically present. When Wakaba asks if his father was an English teacher, Haruto admits it was true and explains that he once thought of following the same path, though it remains only an option. When questioned about his true dream, he hesitates but finally confides. His dream is not about work or status but about family. He wants to marry someone he loves, create a home, and one day let his mother hold his child, something she could not do with him as a baby. The rain begins to fall as he hides his face in embarrassment, calling his dream ordinary. He fears being mocked as a mother's boy, but Wakaba does not laugh. Instead, she assures him with warmth that she will support him. A sudden memory strikes her, of promising him in the past that she would fulfill his dream. She blurts it out, startling Haruto, who also recalls the conversation, and for a brief moment, their faces tighten in silent realization. They quickly change the subject, choosing to head home together. As they walk, their hands find each other, and they hold on quietly, their faces red with blush but their hearts closer than before. Wakaba reflects that today she has learned who Haruto truly is. He is awkward, mischievous, sometimes perverted, and not particularly striking in appearance, yet he shines like the sun, always finding the strength to laugh off pain and share kindness with others. At that moment, she realizes that she has fallen in love with him. When they reach Wakaba's home, she thanks him sincerely for the day. Haruto shakes his head, insisting that she need not thank him, that he should be the one grateful instead. Before he can finish his words, Wakaba leans forward and presses a kiss on his cheek. She tells herself it is only to show her gratitude, though she feels guilty that it is just on his cheek. Haruto's face burns, his thoughts scattering, as he grows dizzy from the softness of her kiss. Wakaba steps back, flustered, wondering if she has gone too far, while Haruto remains dazed, caught in the moment of warmth. Afterward, they continue walking together, chatting about plans for their next date. Internally, Wakaba reflects that this was the day she and Haruto truly began to feel like a real couple. He starts calling her by her first name, and before long she drops the formal speech when talking to him. Haruto beams, proudly calling them the best couple. When Wakaba spots a crane machine and points to it with interest, Haruto jumps at the chance to win her a prize. As they laugh and enjoy the moment, Wakaba's thoughts drift again. The time she spends with Haruto has become the most precious part of her life. Just being near him fills her with a deep sense of calm. School without him feels unthinkable now. Wrapped in a happiness so intense it's almost terrifying, she drifts through each day like she's in a dream. At school, Wakaba sits with Haruto and his friends to share the special lunch she has prepared. The boys grow excited at the sight of her bento. She encourages them to eat well, assuring that she has made enough for everyone. Bizen teases Haruto that his girlfriend can do anything, while Haruto happily makes exaggerated faces of satisfaction as he eats. Bizen mocks his lame expressions, but Haruto replies that his friends have good taste, recalling the present they gave him on his birthday. Wakaba suddenly cries out in shock, demanding why he never told her about his birthday. She insists she would have prepared a gift and celebrated with him. Haruto answers calmly that telling her would have been like asking for a present, and adds that he has already received something far greater, her becoming his girlfriend. He gently tells her to drop the honorifics, since he is already calling her by her first name. Wakaba stares wide-eyed, blushing with confusion, while Haruto teases her. She eventually retorts in frustration, warning him not to get carried away or she will stop talking to him. He asks hesitantly if she is angry, but Wakaba clarifies that she only hates people who bully girls for fun. Haruto responds by declaring his love for her. The sweetness of their exchange unsettles Bizen, who complains to Namikawa that it is not his type of atmosphere. The two friends decide to leave them alone, though Namikawa winks before walking off. Left together, Wakaba and Haruto blush as they look at one another. She admits that his friends are genuinely good people, and he agrees. At home that evening, Wakaba hums cheerfully during dinner. Her mother notices her happiness and asks why she is in such a good mood. Wakaba deflects, saying she is only thinking about how delicious her mother's cooking always is. Her father comments that she has been unusually energetic lately. Wakaba grows quiet as her sister Futaba giggles secretly. Later that night, Futaba knocks on her door and apologizes for disturbing her before asking to talk. She explains that their parents are worried because of Wakaba's unusual behavior, so she came to check on her. Smiling, she then asks about Haruto. Wakaba sighs and admits that he teases her with silly words, but he also genuinely looks out for her. Futaba observes seriously that Haruto does not seem like Wakaba's type. Wakaba admits she once thought the same, but now she finds him cute. She explains that his looks may not be perfect, yet just being near him excites her heart. Her smile comes naturally around him, and she loves how he gives his best even for strangers. That is the reason she loves him deeply. Futaba listens, grows envious, and declares she wants a boyfriend too. Excitedly, she asks how Wakaba managed to start dating someone so wonderful. Wakaba is about to answer but suddenly recalls the true reason she began dating Haruto. A jolt runs through her and she falls silent. Futaba asks if something is wrong, but Wakaba denies it, claiming she does not clearly remember how it began, as everything just flowed naturally. Futaba questions if that is really how romance works, and Wakaba reluctantly agrees before pretending to have a headache. Futaba leaves, and she lies awake thinking. Her thoughts turn to Nanase and her group. They no longer confront her directly, but instead spread rumors from a distance. Wakaba wonders why she is even troubling herself with thoughts of them. She convinces herself she made no mistake in going out with Haruto. There is no way she was forced into confessing, no lies between them. If she stops believing that, her happiness will crumble. The next morning, Wakaba sits in class, thinking of the afternoon break. She feels relieved that Haruto's help with English has improved her grades, and she looks forward to his praise. She also eagerly anticipates sharing lunch with him. Her joy is interrupted when she overhears Nanase's group whispering that Wakaba seems in a good mood lately. Nanase confronts her, demanding to know how far things have progressed, asking about a kiss. Wakaba covers her face and admits that a kiss still feels too soon, though if Haruto became more proactive, it might happen. Her words stun Nanase's friends, who react in shock. Nanase screams in disbelief, accusing Wakaba of mocking them, but Wakaba insists she is only talking about her boyfriend. She explains that she even made him a lunchbox that morning and wonders aloud if he will be happy with it. Her bright, earnest expression unsettles the group, sending shivers through them. Nanase loses control, shouting at her to stop speaking such disgusting things. One of her friends pulls her away, warning that if they keep interacting with Wakaba, they will end up as strange as her. Furious, Nanase insists that Wakaba will not defy them and threatens that she will see this relationship through to the end. Wakaba, confused, fails to grasp what she means. After they leave, Yajima approaches and asks what happened. Wakaba, smiling and winking, explains that Nanase's group was only saying odd things. She wonders aloud why it is wrong for her to date Haruto. Yajima stares in shock before suddenly running off. Wakaba receives a text about going out after school and accepts, but her thoughts wander. She tells herself even small conversations with Haruto are precious. The fears she once carried about school now feel like illusions. She convinces herself not to dwell on unnecessary matters. As long as she thinks of Haruto, everything will be fine. The bell rings, signaling the afternoon break. Wakaba leaps from her seat, grabs her lunchbox, and hurries to meet him. Her heart races with excitement to see him quickly. Suddenly, a voice calls for her to stop. She turns and sees Bizun. When she asks about Haruto and Namikawa, Bizun replies that he already told Haruto she would not be coming today, so she should not worry. Wakaba freezes in shock, demanding what he means. Bizun calmly states that he wants to have a little talk. He orders her to follow him to the rooftop, away from prying ears. She struggles to understand, asking again what he intends. Bizun looks back and says he only wants to know about the game they are playing. Wakaba stands stunned, unable to respond. She follows Bizun's call toward the rooftop, each step up the narrow staircase heavy with dread. Her hands tremble against the railing as if her body resists the climb. In the dim corridor, her thoughts turn chaotic, circling the same unbearable question. She asks herself why she began going out with Haruto in the first place. Her heart denies ignorance, yet her mind insists that she has forgotten something crucial. Deep down, she knows the truth. Somewhere in the corners of her heart, she already understands. The days she shares with Haruto are radiant. Happiness fills them so completely that her chest aches with fear at the thought of losing it. She clings to him like a true girlfriend, basking in his innocent, bright self, but she feels the weight of deception in every gesture. The love she offers him is stained by the knowledge that she has tricked him. She is painfully aware that she carries all the fault and that regret cannot erase her sins. Her past has finally caught up to her, demanding its price. When she opens the rooftop door, a sharp breeze whips across her face, chilling her already unsteady heart. Bizun stands waiting, his posture firm against the wind. He begins by apologizing for dragging her there in the cold, but Wakaba cannot muster a reply beyond a hesitant murmur. She gathers her voice, fragile and uncertain, and asks him about the matter. Bizun does not circle around the subject. He cuts directly to the heart. He speaks of a fake confession prepared with Haruto as the target. He explains how it would eventually be revealed, intended to crush Haruto's pride beyond repair. He demands to know if such a game exists. Wakaba's body stiffens, and her lips tremble. She nods. His gaze sharpens as he pushes further, asking if she is also part of the game. With shaking hands and breaking voice, she admits it. Silence lingers for a moment before Bizun explodes with fury. He scratches his head violently, cursing the mess of it all. Wakaba begins confessing, releasing what she has held locked in her chest. She tells him how the bullying started the moment she entered the school. She explains how the punishment game dragged her into this pit, forcing her to deceive everyone, even Haruto. Bizun suddenly yells at her to stop. His voice roars with anger as he tells her not to involve Haruto in their worthless games. His fury halts abruptly, and his tone softens with reluctant understanding. He apologizes for shouting, acknowledging that her situation is cruel as well. He reveals how he first learned of the matter. Date once asked Kuju for advice, and Kuju's friends, who share Wakaba's class, started whispering about strange rumors. That is how the truth of the game began to surface. Bizun himself overheard Nanase's voice along with another girl while passing behind the school. Afterward, he cornered Shaoji and forced her to reveal the details. She told him that Wakaba was the mastermind, that everything had been her plan. Wakaba shakes her head desperately, denying the claim, but Bizun mutters that even he does not fully trust the words of someone like Shaoji. Still, her explanation matches her suspicious actions. A girl like her confessing to someone like Haruto, who holds no popularity with girls, cannot help but appear unnatural. Bizun sighs, admitting that Shun would probably have noticed something if he had understood the atmosphere of Class 4 sooner. He tells her that he sees himself in her, that her way of acting resembles the way he was when he first met Haruto. Even so, it does not erase the fact that she deceived the boy who loves her most. Wakaba bows her head in acceptance. She admits silently that she cannot escape the reality of having betrayed him. Haruto, who always smiles at her, who always listens to her whims without complaint, who shines brighter than she could ever hope to. The thought of him hearing this truth strikes terror into her. She screams suddenly, begging Bizun not to tell Haruto. Bizun shouts back that there is no way he could tell him. He explains that Haruto is truly in love with her. Haruto constantly praises her kindness when speaking to his friends. He speaks of her at lunch, he speaks of her in idle conversation, and he even tells them that she will make his dreams come true. Bizun asks if she knows that side of Haruto, the boy whose spirit never seems to fall. Wakaba freezes in horror, her body trembling. She has seen glimpses of Haruto, but the weight of hearing it laid bare overwhelms her. Bizun lowers his voice, admitting that she is a victim too. He declares that he will end the game himself. He vows to drag everyone responsible into hell for making him endure this humiliation. Wakaba shudders at his words. He says he does not care if he is expelled. He will still carry it out. He snarls that the rotten men of his family, his father and grandfather, have already destroyed enough, and he will crush what remains. Determined to seize the family business and banish all relatives from ever touching it again. From the beginning, he was never meant to be part of Shun's or Haruto's life. That brief opportunity was fleeting, but it gave him a taste of school life that satisfied him. Wakaba opens her mouth to speak, but he interrupts, telling her not to worry. He orders her to continue acting as she has, to keep playing the part. If she tries to confess the truth to Haruto, she will only lose her ability to smile before him, and her suffering will burden him in ways he does not deserve. She will be trapped in an endless cycle of lies, unable to tell him yet unable to stop deceiving him. Her body shivers violently under the weight of those words. Bizun narrows his eyes and tells her that if a little pressure from him can make her shake like this, then it is impossible for her to ever confess. He tells her not to approach Haruto or their group again, insisting that it is for her own sake. He warns that he will let her stay with Haruto only until the game ends, and he declares this to be her punishment. Wakaba realizes with a jolt that she has made yet another mistake, realizing it only after it is too late. She knows she will bring nothing but trouble to Haruto and the people who care for him. Bizun steps closer, his tone colder now. He warns her not to try to stop him. He threatens that he will not show mercy even to her if she reveals this to anyone. He spits out that she will never meet Haruto again if she betrays him. As he moves past her toward the stairwell, he mutters that he hates lies more than anything. His footsteps echo as he descends, but before leaving entirely, he adds that Wakaba must carry some share of the blame because she is part of something this ugly. The rooftop falls silent. Wakaba staggers backward, her legs buckling until she collapses against the cold wall. She stares at nothing, her mind drowning. She realizes that in the end, she valued herself most, that her fear of being hurt outweighed her fear of hurting others. Even now, her heart prays desperately that Haruto will not hate her. The thought of never seeing his smile again rips her apart from within. Her throat tightens as if she might scream to the sky, but the sound never comes. She thinks of the difference between them, how Haruto is the sun and she is only gloom and melancholy. Her eyes grow heavy, tears spilling in steady streams. Her guilt breaks her, and she sobs uncontrollably. Through her tears, she whispers apologies to Haruto over and over, as if words can reach him across a void. Her sobbing fills the rooftop, but she does not know that on the other side of the boundary wall, Haruto is sitting silently. His body shakes as he listens, his own tears sliding down his cheeks. Every word pierces him deeper. He hears the truth that Wakaba has been bullied since entering the school, that she was forced into a punishment game after breaking a compact mirror, and that she was made to go out with the boy most hated by the class. Haruto presses his hand against the cold wall that separates them, his voice breaking as he begins to sob. He whispers into the wind that it should not be possible, yet the truth gnaws into his heart, tearing apart the subtle joy he thought was real. Meanwhile, Wakaba walks down from the rooftop, her entire body wrapped in the weight of sadness. The words of Bizun echo endlessly in her mind, pressing against her chest until breathing feels heavy. As she moves down the stairs, faint voices rise from below. She pauses, glancing down, and sees Kuju and Yajima in the corridor, deep in conversation. Kuju's tone is filled with concern, asking Yajima what is wrong, but she brushes it aside, her irritation breaking through as she insists that she is fine. Kuju, bright and excitable as ever, immediately shifts the subject, suggesting they go on a day trip together and test the new digital camera her father has given her. Kuju suddenly notices Asahina-san standing on the stairs and calls out, wondering why she is there. Yajima's curiosity rises as she questions if Yajima already knows Wakaba. The girl confirms it without hesitation. Then, without warning, Kuju asks Wakaba if she has fought with Iruma. She hesitates, but after a moment, Kuju recalls his attitude felt somewhat off. Bizun came down the same stairs, muttering to himself about something involving Nanase. Yajima turns to note Asahina-san's reaction. Without another word, she forces a smile, says she has something to do, and runs away. The bell rings, the sound echoing through the halls. Wakaba stands in her classroom, quietly packing her bag, her movements mechanical and lifeless. Suddenly, Yajima enters, her eyes filled with the weight of unspoken words. She steps forward, ready to say something, but Nanase storms in before she can. Nanase's voice is sharp, her tone commanding as she demands to know what Wakaba is doing. She declares that the time has come to tell Haruto the truth about the game. Yajima freezes, stunned by the sudden revelation, but anger rises within her. She grabs Nanase by the shoulders and shouts at her to stop forcing Wakaba into this. Nanase jolts her arms free, her eyes burning, and spits back with venom that Yajima should not play the good girl card now after remaining silent all this time. She orders Yajima to stop interfering and turns once more to Wakaba. Her tone drips with superiority as she tells Wakaba to be thankful, for she is going to allow her to end the pretending game. Wakaba's heart cracks at those words. A bitter thought floods her mind. All of this began with Nanase. If she had not started the cruel game, Haruto could have lived in peace, free from this chaos. Anger bursts through her grief, and Wakaba shouts for Nanase to stop. She accuses her of causing this entire mess, and cries that now she cannot confess her feelings truthfully to Haruto, that she has lost the right to tell him she likes him. Nanase recoils, stunned, and demands to know if Wakaba was not lying as well. But Wakaba refuses to back down, her voice shaking as she insists that Nanase dragged her into this, and that now she is only speaking the truth. Her knees weaken, her body trembling, and with unsteady steps she walks out, leaving the classroom in silence. Determined, she heads to Class 1, needing to see Haruto no matter what. She slides open the door and finds one of the Date brothers standing inside. He startles when he notices her, his voice awkward as he explains that Haruto has already left school early for something at home. He adds that Haruto asked him to pass the message if Wakaba came looking for him. Wakaba lowers her eyes, checking her phone, and realizes she had already received Haruto's message, but had overlooked it earlier. The Date brother lingers, his expression softening. He tells her that Haruto may appear unreliable at times, but he is a good person at heart. He urges Wakaba to be gentle with him, to take care of him, because he truly likes her. Embarrassed, he apologizes for saying something so strange, insisting that he only wanted Haruto's feelings to be understood. These words strike Wakaba's fragile heart. Her emotions burst uncontrollably, and she runs from the room, screaming into the hallway as if to release the turmoil crushing her chest. She finally reaches home, panting and drenched in sweat. Her mother rushes over, alarmed, and asks what has happened. Futaba hurries to her side as well, offering her a glass of water with a worried expression. But then their mother cheerfully congratulates her. She explains that Futaba already told them, and now they know she has a boyfriend. Wakaba's eyes remains open in disbelief. Futaba giggles nervously, confessing that she spilled the secret by mistake. Even their father has rushed home from work in a panic, leaving halfway through the day. Their mother smiles warmly, promising that tonight's dinner will be filled with Wakaba's favorite dishes, and encourages her to share more about Iruma-san. The words crush Wakaba's already fragile heart. She screams for them to stop. The room falls into silence. Her mother apologizes, trying to calm her, but Wakaba trembles uncontrollably. Her father gently places his hand on her shoulder, but she shakes him off and screams once more, declaring that she hates all of them. She bolts upstairs, slamming her door shut, and collapses against it, burying her face against her knees. Guilt eats at her. She has fled from her classmates, Haruto's friends, and now even from her own family. She whispers desperately for Haruto to help her. In the haze of exhaustion, she sees him in a dream. He stands before her, but when she reaches for him, he pushes her hand away. His expression twists into something terrifying as he accuses her of lying to him all along. He spits words filled with bitterness, mocking the fun she must have had watching someone like him fall for her. He tells her never to come near him again. Wakaba begs for forgiveness, pleading for him not to leave, promising to change, to let him kiss her, to let him do anything he wants. But his back turns coldly, his figure vanishes into the dark, her eyes snap open. It was only a dream. Yet her body still trembles. She rises unsteadily, driven by a desperate urge to see him, to speak to him. She rushes out of her room, determined to leave for school, but Futaba intercepts her. Futaba's voice wavers with worry as she confronts her sister's strange behavior. She pleads to know what is happening, asking if Wakaba is angry because she told her parents about Haruto or if Haruto has done something awful. Wakaba's emotions explode. She shouts that it is not Haruto's fault. Her voice rises against her sister, accusing Futaba of never being able to understand, of living a cheerful life surrounded by friends, of being unable to feel her pain. She demands to be left alone. The words pierce Futaba's heart. Tears swell in her eyes as she asks in disbelief if that is truly what her sister thinks of her. Her voice breaks, and she begins to cry. Wakaba's chest twists with regret, but footsteps echo nearby. Without another word, she flees the house, unable to bear the sight of her sister's tears. She runs until her legs can no longer carry her, stopping only to catch her breath. Her phone vibrates. Haruto's name lights the screen. His message is soft and apologetic. He writes that he is sorry for texting so early, but asks if she will come to school. He wants to talk, and he will wait for her at the usual place behind the school building. Her heart pounds as she makes her way there. When she arrives, she finds Haruto already waiting, his back turned until he notices her presence. Slowly he faces her, his voice quiet yet steady as he greets her. After a pause, his eyes meet hers, and with a solemn tone, he tells her that he heard everything. Haruto stands quietly at the familiar place behind the school building. Wakaba approaches with trembling steps, her chest tightening as she realizes that the time has finally come to reveal the truth. Yet before she can gather her courage, Haruto speaks first. His voice is calm, but his words strike her heart like a blade. He tells her that he has already heard everything. She freezes, her breath caught in her throat. He continues, explaining that there is no longer any need to hide, that her confession itself was nothing but a lie. He admits with a faint smile that perhaps he never truly understood what she was thinking when they began going out. The tension in her body sharpens. Her hand rises to her mouth as her dream from last night flashes before her eyes, a cruel memory of rejection that now threatens to become real. She opens her lips to call his name, but he interrupts, declaring that he has only one thing to say. They should continue the game. His smile unsettles her. The words are too casual, too light, and she shouts at him in disbelief. Haruto, however, nods firmly, claiming he knows exactly what he is saying. He explains that he had also been on the rooftop when the truth was revealed. He recalls how Bison had mentioned something urgent before leaving, and how he followed him out of curiosity despite the bitter cold. There, while hidden, he overheard every word of their conversation. With the same smile, he assures Wakaba that he never meant to eavesdrop, as if excusing something far too serious. Wakaba watches him, shaken. His smile does not fade, even though it should. She cannot understand how he is able to laugh so lightly after hearing all of that. He then bows before her, asking her not to hold a grudge against Bison for his harshness, insisting that Bison only acted out of concern for him. Wakaba shakes her head quickly, saying that she could never resent Bison. Haruto brightens at her response, relieved that she feels the same. He adds that although he has chosen to continue the game, they will not play it the way the girls intended. He insists he has a plan, that they also have people they can rely on, and that she should not worry. Wakaba lowers her gaze. Strangely, just by looking at Haruto's smile, the suffocating anxiety that had bound her heart begins to fade away. She wonders why his presence always eases her fear. But as she looks down, something on the ground startles her. The soil beneath Haruto's feet is damp, though no rain has fallen since yesterday. Her eyes widen, and when she lifts them back to his face, she notices the sweat streaming down his skin. Haruto apologizes with a laugh, insisting he is not angry at all. He claims it is nothing for someone like him, with his thick, fat, and iron heart. He admits that from the start he always found the situation a little strange. His voice falters as he begins to say her first name, Wakaba, but stops and replaces it with Asahina. Hearing this strikes her like thunder. He continues, saying there is no way a pretty girl like her could truly like someone like him. His tone is filled with shame, his face lowered as he calls himself a creepy fat boy. He apologizes for not realizing it sooner, but then tries to lighten the air by insisting it is fine now. He says they can continue the game, but only as a pretense. They do not need to be together when no one is watching. He insists that for him, the level of success as a prank is enough, so she should smile again. He lowers his head, embarrassed, justifying himself with a shaky cheerfulness. Wakaba's heart twists. She cannot bear it. She wants him to stop. She finally realizes what she had failed to see until now, that Haruto had always been concerned only for her, never for himself. Her mind races through memories. His quiet kindness, his patience, the way he always stood beside her no matter what. A desperate cry bursts out of her, demanding to know why he went through so much trouble for her. She shouts that she has only deceived him, and questions how he could ever accept someone as dirty as her. Her voice trembles, but then she gasps, frozen as Bison's words echo in her mind. Haruto is really in love with her. She remembers all the things he said about her to his friends, how he only wanted her happiness, how he spoke about her with pride and tenderness. Tears stream down her face as she shouts again for him to stop doing anything for her. Haruto falls silent, his lips pressed tightly together, unable to respond. Wakaba realizes that he has been carrying everything, holding it all inside just to spare her from suffering. It is because of her that his radiant smile has become clouded. It is because of her that she may never see the smile she fell in love with again. She mutters in despair, asking herself what she has done. Her eyes catch her reflection in the window nearby. Her own face stares back at her, but in her mind, the reflection speaks, whispering cruel truths. A woman like her is not worthy of Haruto. She does not have the right to love him. Her heart shatters under the weight of the thought. Her sanity crumbles. She begins to scream, her voice tearing through the empty space. She coughs, pants, and cries, her throat burning as she shouts apologies over and over. Haruto rushes forward, stunned, wrapping his arms around her trembling body. He holds her tightly, telling her to stop, to say nothing more, begging her only to calm down. He whispers that he wants nothing else but her smile. Wakaba collapses against his chest, her tears soaking his shirt. In his arms, she feels a fragile sense of security, something she has not known for a long time. Slowly, her strength leaves her. With her sobs fading into silence, she closes her eyes, surrendering her consciousness in the safety of his embrace. The scene shifts to the school infirmary. As Wakaba slowly opens her eyes, Haruto's worried voice reaches her ears. He's speaking with the sensei, trying to understand her condition. She remembers the moment she fainted. The teacher urges him to calm down and explains that Wakaba is suffering from emotional shock and needs proper rest. With class about to start, the teacher advises Haruto to return to his classroom. Haruto, clearly nervous, insists on staying until she wakes. Moved by his persistence, the teacher agrees and promises to inform his homeroom teacher. Suddenly, the infirmary phone rings. After answering it, the teacher says he must leave immediately. There's been an injury in the kendo club. Before going, he hands Haruto his personal number in case anything happens. He reminds him that the human heart is fragile, especially during youth, and even small words can cut deep. Teachers can only offer guidance, the rest is up to them. He encourages Haruto to learn from this, especially in matters involving feelings for a certain girl. Before stepping out, he advises him not to live with regret. Wakaba sits up, pushes aside the curtain, and quietly calls Haruto's name. He rushes over, urging her not to move too much. She smiles faintly, amazed that he's still being kind to her. Inside, she feels unworthy of it. With hesitation, she says this will be their last meeting. If she hadn't taken part in the game, none of this would have happened. She wishes she could erase everything, as though nothing ever began. The image of her that lives in Haruto's heart must be kind and sweet, someone unlike her. She believes that girl never truly existed. She stands and begins to leave. Haruto stops her, asking her to wait. Wakaba insists she never loved him and only pretended because of threats. She walks past him, whispering a quiet goodbye. In her heart, it's over. The game, her feelings, all of it. But just as she reaches the door, Haruto begins laughing. She freezes, caught off guard by the sound. He mocks how easily she decided everything on her own. how she's discarding him with just a goodbye, acting like that's enough. He laughs again, calling it selfish. Wakaba, still frozen, admits she didn't want things to end like this either, but she doesn't know what else to do. She confesses the trouble she caused him, the pain she gave Bizun, and the cruel things she said to her family. Everything feels ruined. Haruto accuses her of being too absorbed in her own misery, which is why she's hurting now. His words leave her stunned. He says he wouldn't have been angry, even if she had deceived him. He only ever wanted to live honestly and follow his heart. Frustrated, Wakaba snaps and calls him a pervert. He jokes back, claiming he's not overweight, just overplump. She yells again, saying she has every right to be angry too. In her frustration, she pushes him down onto the bed and realizes she's on top of him. A moment of silence passes between them. Then Haruto smiles and says she's acting like her usual self again. Embarrassed, she quickly backs off. He gently points out that she always bottles everything up and doesn't need to. He reassures her that everything until now was just teasing. But if she had walked out earlier, it would have created a real problem. He asks her to hold out her hands. When she does, he places a compact mirror in them. Wakaba stares at it in disbelief, remembering that Nanase claimed the broken one was a foreign brand. Haruto explains that this one is nothing special, just a trinket he bought from an old man who runs a plastic model shop. It only cost 1,000 yen. He tells her she was deceived from the beginning. Shocked, Wakaba asks how he knows. He replies that he has people he can rely on, but reassures her that what matters now is that she's been cleared of blame. They now have to decide what to do moving forward. If the game ends here, the bullies will resume targeting her. Their best choice is to prolong the fake relationship. They can skip dates and come up with excuses. The class reps already know, so there's no need to worry. All they have to do is endure until the harassment stops. Later, when classes are reshuffled, they can request not to be grouped together. Haruto reassures her again. He's on her side no matter what. Wakaba blushes. Deep down, she knows her feelings for him are real. He's gone to such lengths for her, but she wonders if it's fair to place all her burdens on him. Should she really be leaning on him this much? While she's lost in thought, Haruto continues speaking. She suddenly interrupts and thanks him for everything. She admits she can't continue the lie, not after what she's done, but she has a better idea. Haruto looks confused and starts to ask what she means, but before he can, Wakaba leans in and kisses him. He sits frozen, speechless. After a moment, she explains that if pretending isn't an option, then they should make their relationship real. Haruto turns bright red, clearly flustered. She admits to all her faults, how she treated him, how much she regrets it, but confesses her love and asks to start over properly. Tears begin to roll down Haruto's cheeks. He pulls her into a hug and says he feels the same way. He wants her by his side, always. They kiss again, this time with confidence. Afterward, Haruto promises she doesn't have to suffer in silence anymore. If it becomes difficult, she should come to him. From now on, she's allowed to cry freely. At those words, Wakaba breaks down. She cries louder than she ever has since coming to the school, releasing everything she's held inside. For the first time, she lets herself be vulnerable. And from that moment on, their true relationship begins, no longer a game, but something real. They remain seated in the quiet infirmary. After crying so much, Wakaba finally falls silent. Haruto watches her closely and tells her that if she is not feeling well, she can lie down again. She shakes her head softly and replies that she is fine. Haruto gently lifts her chin, and her flushed cheeks make his eyes widen. Without hesitation, Wakaba leans closer to him, her lips only inches away. The air grows tense, but suddenly a loud noise echoes from the hallway, breaking the fragile moment. Startled, Wakaba quickly stands and slides the infirmary door open. Outside, Nanase is running at full speed, followed by Torameki. Behind them, Shaoji's voice trembles as she cries not to be left behind. She stumbles, falls to the floor, and begins sobbing uncontrollably. Struggling on her hands and knees, she tries to crawl forward. Wakaba calls out to her in concern, but before she can approach, one of the date siblings grabs Shaoji by the arm and drags her to her feet. His voice is sharp as he tells her to get down and apologize. Shaoji resists, screaming that she has done nothing wrong. Wakaba's eyes remain open at the scene, unable to move. Haruto steps up beside her, peering through the doorway with a grin tugging at his lips. Namikawa and Bison stand nearby, both watching with sharp expressions. Haruto lets out a mocking laugh, complaining that just when he is about to resolve an issue in style, the spotlight is stolen from him. Namikawa smirks and answers that they have hardly done anything at all. He explains that on their way to visit Haruto, they happened to cross paths with Nanase and the others and decided it was a good chance to have a little conversation. Bizun adds with biting sarcasm that those who thrive on bullying collapse and flee from nothing more than a short talk. His tone drips with contempt as he calls them gutless, mocking that they cannot handle even the smallest taste of what they put others through. Namikawa studies the situation with a calculating expression. He states that those girls were not heading to offer help but to meddle with Wakaba after hearing she collapsed. He dismisses the idea that they could ever worry about anyone else. From his perspective, they are nothing more than performers hiding behind the mask of model students. He explains that they never even realized their actions as bullying, so when Wakaba was cornered, they never imagined things would spiral into something dangerous. Wakaba's mind flickers back to that moment in the classroom when she panicked, acting out of desperation in front of everyone. She recalls Nanase's group stiffening with unease, and now she questions silently how Namikawa knows these details. Namikawa continues unfazed. He remarks that if Asahina had truly harmed herself, Nanase and the others would have been the first to rush forward, pretending concern to protect themselves from suspicion. He reveals that the group scattered the moment they noticed others waiting for them, unwilling to face exposure. Haruto chuckles dryly, teasing his friends that they show no mercy at all. Namikawa then pulls out a folded sheet of paper from his arm and hands it to Haruto. It is a list of names. Haruto glances at it curiously, while Wakaba leans over to see. Her breath catches as she notices the names belong to her own classmates. Nanase and her closest friends are not on the list, but Namikawa explains with calm certainty that the signatures belong to the classmates who forced her into the game, confirming their guilt. He reveals that at first they resisted admitting anything, but once he threatened to expose their school records and online behavior, they broke quickly. With the help of the Date siblings, he obtained access to hidden accounts, proof of their cruelty. He taunted Nanase's group with the idea of sending those logs to teachers or even families. That alone was enough to shatter their resistance. He mentions with satisfaction that audio recordings exist as well, leaving no room for denial. Wakaba stares at him in disbelief as he describes how the group fell silent, their mouths hanging open like goldfish, stripped of arrogance and pride. Namikawa laughs softly, stating that he is not as lenient as Haruto. The words make Wakaba shiver, and instinctively she presses closer to Haruto. He notices her unease immediately and warns Namikawa to be mindful of his tone or risk frightening her further. He waves his hands in apology, still smiling. He then suggests it is best not to tell Wakaba what exactly Bizun said that left Nanase's group in tears. Haruto narrows his eyes and demands to know whether Bizun resorted to violence. Bizun clicks his tongue and tells him to shut it, claiming he merely threatened them a little. Namikawa chuckles, adding that after hearing those words, it would not be surprising if Nanase and the others had wet themselves in fear. He leans toward Haruto and whispers the details. Haruto's face twists in outrage, and he shouts at Bizun for saying something so disturbing. Bizun immediately folds his arms, insisting he never meant it physically, and that he only wanted to describe the intensity of their anger in simple terms. The exchange quickly escalates. Haruto berates Bizun for always choosing words poorly, reminding him that this is exactly why Yui misunderstands him. Bizun roars back that this has nothing to do with her. Tempers flare, and Bizun yells that none of this would have happened if Haruto had not been deceived so easily by a cheap trick. He sneers, saying no girl would ever confess to a fat boy like Haruto. Haruto shoots back with a smirk, accusing Bizun of being jealous. The argument explodes into a shouting match, their voices clashing as the atmosphere grows tense. Amid the chaos, one of the Date siblings approaches Wakaba quietly. He taps her shoulder, drawing her attention away from the heated quarrel. With a calm voice, he asks if she can look at something. He hands her a pair of earphones, discreetly ensuring Haruto does not notice. He admits that he may have said unnecessary things the previous day and thinks that showing her this now might ease her heart. Curious, Wakaba accepts and begins watching the video he offers. On the screen, she sees Namikawa, several of her classmates, and even Yajima. Confusion rises within her as she wonders why Yajima, a student from another class, is there among them. Date explains that this was recorded during the previous day's lunch break. Yajima approached Namikawa in the hallway, claiming she had something important to share about Wakaba. Suspicious of her behavior, Date decided to record the interaction. The video continues, showing Yajima confessing that the compact mirror was something she herself purchased near Shitarazu Station. Wakaba's eyes remain open in shock, her mind flooded with thoughts. The very item that had sparked the cruel game and the lie was not what she had been led to believe. Wakaba continues watching the video on Date's iPad. In it, Yajima lowers her head, voice trembling with remorse, and admits that she had bought the compact mirror near the station. It had been cheap and had a cute design, so she couldn't resist. But soon after, she dropped it and cracked it. Nanase later offered to buy it for 500 yen, so she sold it, never imagining what it would be used for. Tears start falling as she confesses she had no idea how Nanase planned to use it. Overwhelmed with guilt, she breaks down. Kuju gently pulls her into an embrace, trying to calm her. Through sobs, Yajima insists it wasn't Asahina's fault. It was her own, for breaking the mirror in the first place. Watching this, Wakaba finally sees the truth unfold before her. The video still isn't over. Suddenly, Bison slams the table with his foot, unable to contain his rage, and storms toward Yajima. Izuka shoots him a sharp glare, urging him to stop, but he turns his face away in defiance. She tries again, her voice firmer this time, but he snaps at her to shut up. Now standing before Yajima, he glares down at her with fury and spits out that ignorance isn't enough to be forgiven. Kuju steps in, trying to de-escalate, but Bison brushes him off, yelling that she deceived Haruto and that nothing can undo that. Yajima trembles under the weight of his words, fully aware that it all began with her mistake. A few classmates grab Bison by the shoulder, attempting to hold him back. They plead with him to think about Wakaba's circumstances, how she was being threatened too. But Bison's rage only builds, and he shouts at them to be quiet. His voice echoes through the classroom as he vents. Wakaba, he claims, was just playing a game all along, pretending right in front of their eyes. His anger is explosive. He declares he'll never forgive any of them. Silence falls over the room. Wakaba feels her chest tighten. Every word from Bison cuts deep because she knows he's right. These were people who once treated her as a friend. Of course they'd feel betrayed, Namikawa too, even if he stands there quietly. Even if Haruto forgives her, she knows the pain doesn't vanish so easily. She admits to herself that everything is her fault, but she keeps watching, unable to look away. Bison is still fuming when the classroom door opens, and Haruto walks in with a calm smile. His presence stuns everyone. Even Wakaba freezes. He steps forward and reveals he overheard the rooftop conversation between Bison and Wakaba. The room stirs with murmurs. One student urges him to stay composed, while another erupts, claiming there's no room for calm in a situation like this. Tension rises. Someone suggests storming into Class 4 in retaliation. Izuka's voice cuts through the chaos as she demands everyone settle down. Meanwhile, Yajima clutches Kuju more tightly, clearly afraid. Arguments spark all over the room. The class is on the verge of losing control. Only Bison and Namikawa remain still and silent amidst the rising storm. Then, Haruto approaches Namikawa. His tone is quiet, but full of purpose. He needs his help, because now, more than ever, they must figure out how to save Wakaba. Wakaba continues to watch the recorded video. Haruto turns to Namikawa, asking how they can help her. Namikawa begins explaining that their first step is to find a compact mirror identical to the one Yajima purchased near the station. They turn to Yajima, who nods slowly. She had already thought of that, having searched high and low, but the old man who sold it had vanished. She checked accessory shops, online stores, even walked around nearby stations, but found nothing. Namikawa speculates that the seller likely runs a mobile roadside stall, making him difficult to trace. Yajima clutches her hands and suggests that proving she bought the mirror might still help somehow. Namikawa disagrees. It's likely long gone. Kuju proposes asking people in other areas if they've seen the same vendor, but Namikawa rejects that too. It feels as though the solution is just out of reach, hovering painfully close. Suddenly, the Date brothers step forward, announcing they'd gathered information about the mysterious old man. The entire group rushes toward them. It turns out he changes locations every day, just as Namikawa had guessed. One of the brothers points to a spot on a map, believing he's likely somewhere in that area. Namikawa, while acknowledging the challenge, can't help being impressed by how quickly they gathered such precise intel. A round of praise follows, and Haruto, facing them, expresses his deep gratitude, noting that they already done more than enough. Then he turns, calling Bison to come along. Bison hesitates, asking if Haruto really means it. Haruto smacks him lightly on the back, reminding him that after yelling at Wakaba like that, coming along is the least he can do. Bizin grumbles, trying to defend his outburst by claiming he just snapped. Haruto shrugs it off, still insisting he wants him to come. With a scowl, Bizin finally agrees, warning Haruto that if this all leads nowhere, he'll never forgive him. Haruto simply waves at the rest of the group and leaves the situation in Namikawa's hands, who nods in return. Izuka approaches, concern written all over her face. She questions whether rushing is really the right move. Haruto meets her gaze, explaining that waiting would only make things worse. Wakaba, he knows, tends to internalize everything. Right now, she's probably blaming herself so harshly that her heart might collapse under the weight of it all. Izuka murmurs that sometimes it's too late before anyone notices, but Haruto gently cuts her off, revealing he went through something similar in middle school. He doesn't want to repeat the same mistake. If there's even one burden he can lift from Wakaba, he has to try. If he hesitates today, he risks losing someone important tomorrow, and that's a chance he's not willing to take. She begins to say something else about him and Wakaba, but he stops her with a bittersweet smile. He's fine, he insists. This, at least, will feel like a good dream. Turning to the class, his tone shifts. He hopes that one day they can all forgive Wakaba too. The room falls quiet with surprise. Then, with renewed energy, he brushes off the tension, declaring that he's skipping class and getting something meaningful done at the same time. Yajima steps forward, eyes lowered. She apologizes, taking responsibility for everything that's happened. Kuju, standing by her side, defends her. There was no ill intent. Haruto acknowledges her courage, thanking her for coming forward. If she truly wants to apologize, he says, it should be to Wakaba. He asks if she can look after her once she returns to class. If she really cares, then this is the moment to show it. His words leave Yajima stunned for a moment. Then she straightens up and promises with conviction to do just that. Haruto smiles, thanks her and heads for the door. As he leaves, he offers one last wave. The atmosphere remains heavy, everyone still deeply worried. A few moments later, one of the Date brothers lightens the mood by mentioning a scouting trip to the shopping district. He wants to check out potential date spots and asks who wants to tag along. Several classmates agree. He nudges Aniki, asking if he's coming too, since he planned to get food anyway. Aniki shrugs, mentioning he's free and doesn't mind joining. From across the room, Izuka mutters that she has no interest in doing anything for a liar, staring coldly at her phone. The Date brothers, smirking, tease her for checking the timetable while claiming disinterest. Flustered, she quickly hides her screen and yells at them to shut up. After a pause, she concedes that it might be helpful to give Wakaba an easy excuse to explain her absence. Kuju agrees, thinking she still deserves a proper apology. Then Kuju turns to Bizin, urging him to stop wasting time and catch up to Haruto and Namikawa already. Bizin scowls but says nothing, following after them with a reluctant sigh. As they walk, Namikawa casually mentions that his anger at Asahina was mostly for the group's sake. He didn't mean every word. Bizin doesn't offer a clear response. Namikawa glances sideways at him, then remarks that he's trusting Haruto's safety to him. Outside the classroom, he turns back one last time, grinning at the others, and asks everyone to take care of those two. Wakaba watches all of this unfold, and a sinking feeling spreads through her chest. Her thoughts spiral. To her, school has always been hell, full of isolation, ridicule, and cruelty. Even the kindness from class 1 feels temporary, like a fragile illusion. Deep down, she believed that once they knew the truth, they'd leave her behind. Even if she cried for help, part of her assumed no one would truly stand by her. But now, watching her classmates fight for her sake, despite knowing the truth, she feels overwhelmed. Her fingers tremble, and silent sobs escape her. She doesn't understand why they would go so far for someone who lied to them all. Date reassures her not to overthink and holds out his phone for her to see. He and the others had been frantically searching for the street vendor who sold a mirror to Yajima. While rushing around under pressure, they accidentally mentioned Haruto's name aloud. A small boy who seems to be in kindergarten approached them. The boy asked if they just said the name Haruto. Date shows Wakaba the picture of that boy. She realizes that he is Teichi. Date notes she probably hasn't checked her phone yet. Teichi had mentioned leaving her a few voicemails. Wakaba quickly checks and finds messages from both Teichi's father and Haruka. Date goes on, explaining how each group searching for the mirror seller ended up meeting children in different places. He shows her the photo she took with Haruto. Haruto had posted it, and it quickly made the rounds. Kuju became so emotional after seeing it that she dropped her phone. A little girl picked it up, saw the photo, and asked if Kuju was Wakaba's friend. Wakaba instantly recognizes the girl as Haruka. Haruka had cried upon learning about Wakaba, insisting she didn't want her and Haruto to break up. Wakaba remembers a moment when Haruka whispered that she wanted to confess to her own crush and become a couple just like them. Date continues. After that, Shun had run into Haruto near the station, joined by Haruto's old middle school friends, Aramori and the rest. Among them was a tomboyish girl named Nida who owned a similar compact mirror. It had been a gift from a relative whose friend made it. After digging further, they discovered that the boy's father knew the mirror craftsman, narrowing down the vendor's location. Everyone had been thrilled. Meanwhile, Bizin, reflecting in his usual philosophical way, remarked that relationships are built through choices in action. What may look like coincidence or miracles is actually the result of everything they've done. To him, it was proof that what Haruto and Wakaba built together held real value. Still unsure why everyone had gone this far, Wakaba remains puzzled. Date lets out a sigh, saying it's simple. Everyone just enjoys seeing the two of them happy. Wakaba reflects on how she had been scared to date Haruto, assuming others would mock her. She taught herself to smile and pretend, even outside the classroom. But now she understands. No one is mocking them. They simply want to see her happy with him. Her thoughts are interrupted when Date urges her to stop overthinking and simply apologize to everyone. He tells her to stop avoiding the issue and just return to a normal life. Though he tries hard to make her understand, his words begin to lose direction, and he finally mutters that Aniki would have explained it better. Calling for help, he motions Haruto over. Haruto is already standing just behind Wakaba. Their eyes meet. After a pause, Haruto remarks that Date only makes her cry. He jokes that Date has even made a habit of it, but insists he's not thanking him for it. Wakaba, still wearing a sorrowful expression, murmurs that Date caused a lot of trouble for others. Haruto agrees but gently adds that he'll hold her until she calms down. She shakes her head. She wants to apologize to everyone, to be honest and come clean. Even if things don't go back to how they were, she still feels the need to speak from the heart. A simple sorry might come off as selfish, but doing nothing would feel far worse. Haruto thinks that Date should have been the one to say all this, but Wakaba stops him from overthinking. She insists she just wants to make things right with everyone. Haruto nods, saying they'll reach out to Taichi and the others afterward. He also reminds her to apologize to her sister, her mother, and her father, since they've all been worried sick. Her eyes fill with tears again as she throws her arms around him, sobbing into his chest. The scene shifts to later that day. Nanase is yelling after finding a romantic photo of Haruto and Wakaba placed on her desk. She spins toward Wakaba and demands to know if she did it. Wakaba stays silent. Growing more agitated, Nanase rants that her bullying and cold treatment no longer affect Wakaba. But Wakaba simply places a snack into her mouth, thanks Nanase calmly, then turns to offer cream puffs to Yajima. Nanase's group watches in stunned silence. In her thoughts, Wakaba admits that what Nanase did isn't forgivable, but deep down she knows the real cause of everything was her own fear and cowardice. Because she lacked the courage to stand up for herself, all of this happened. Yet in the midst of it all, she was able to meet the one person she treasures most in the world. A week passes since she and Haruto officially began dating. During that time, Izuka scolds her, warning that none of them will forgive her if she starts avoiding them or acting strangely again. With a flick to Wakaba's forehead, she demands that Wakaba join them again at lunch tomorrow. Wakaba also encounters Bizin. He admits, grudgingly, that he guesses he can approve of her being with Haruto now. Wakaba bows her head slightly and apologizes for everything. Back at home, her mother slaps her across the face. But immediately afterward, both her mother and sister pull her into a tight hug, tears streaming down their faces. Her father is there too, standing silently, his expression heavy with emotion. Wakaba realizes that she never would have reached this point on her own. She makes a firm decision to change. For Haruto's sake, for everyone's, but most importantly, for herself. Later, they take pictures together with Kuju behind the camera. One shot captures just Haruto and Wakaba, standing close with soft smiles. Then the whole group joins in for a photo, with the couple at the center, surrounded by the people who stood by them. Wakaba reflects on how, even if it's just one step at a time, she's ready to move forward, with the people who truly matter. Eventually, Wakaba fulfills Haruto's dream, a warm home, a child, and a loving partner by his side. Now pregnant, she leans gently into him and whispers that she's truly happy. Haruto wraps her in a tight embrace. Wakaba thinks to herself that when their child grows older, she will share with them the love story of a girl who was once shy, timid, and full of fear, and a boy who was as warm as sunlight and as gentle as a spring breeze.
Here I am,